Yo, what's going on, gang? What's going on? How's it going with everybody? How's it going, gang? What's up? What's up? Let's see here. Okay, we've got the stats up. I was looking at my screen. I was trying to make sure it shows like the chat rate and stuff like that. I was trying to make sure all that stuff was working and all that. So just trying to check that out. But dude, let's go. Yeah, I know I was pretty late. I was at the gym, got my workout in. It was like tries and back today and stuff like that. But I'm trying to look my best for AmFest and stuff like that. So I wanted to go all out. But we're here. We're queer. I mean, no, we're just here. We're just here, right? We're here. We're ready to have a good time, good old time. And I'm excited, man. I think this is going to be really, really good, honestly. So I got a lot of stuff to update on, actually. And ironically, I was planning on this particular topic that I'm thinking about being a different stream, but I actually think I might merge it because of like a tweet I put out not that long ago, and I think it's kind of relevant to everything we're talking about. So the like reacting to the cringe guy who wants to like Piety signal Nick or whatever, that's not going to take that long. I mean, we can debunk that guy. It's like a 17-second video pretty much, and he's not that thorough, let's be honest. Bro Googled like Catholic immigration documents, and he's like, well, you need to submit to Pope Francis. And when I say submit to Pope Francis, I mean you have to let in millions of immigrants every single year, and just have no border and no immigration whatsoever. And of course, the guy, I hope he doesn't even call himself Catholic, because he is not, I think, ostensibly a Catholic at all. But I really hope that he realizes just how unbelievably wrong he is. I hope he has some humility to realize that he shouldn't be speaking on Catholic issues. He shouldn't be opening his big fat mouth on stuff that he is clearly not smart enough to understand or thorough enough to understand. So I really hope that he has some humility to understand he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I had like a brain fart there for a moment. I was like, what was I saying? Dude, I got like Zoomer brain going on. It's so good to see everybody, man. I'm so hyped. We got BC Zin here, dude. Let's go. We got Black Cherry Zin here. Billions must invade. Yeah, that's so true, dude. Real quick, I just wanted, because I promised my buddy I would. You guys probably saw that I posted it today, but I got sent a really good coffee by my friends at Bean Toad and Roasties. I know the guy. I've known him for 3 years, as long as the channel's been up. Really good guy. If you guys want some like great coffee and stuff like that, with ads and stuff like that, I don't like to go on and on and on or anything like that. But I use the product. He sent me this. Sent me it for free. I might preface, but I'm about halfway done with it. But it's pretty good coffee, honestly. Dissident Drip. It's and their website's really cool too. I just want to show that real quick. Website's awesome. So these guys are Catholic, America First Patriots, free shipping on their coffee. If you guys want some really good coffee, I highly recommend them. But yeah, if you want to support guys that are like us and share our values, go ahead and give them a subscription, follow, order some coffee. But we'll go back to the show. I didn't want to come off like I was just like shilling or whatever. Like I told you guys, and I guess this will be one of the things that we kind of talk about a little bit. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but it's like what I tweeted out the other day, right? I will never promote a product to you guys that I do not use. I will never promote a product to you guys that I don't use, right? Not your I can't speak. Not your grandma's rosaries. I bought their rosary, right? I think the gentleman who owned that company sent me mine, or I got like a discount. I can't remember what it was. I might have just gotten sent it, but they unfortunately went out of business. But I know the guy who started it and stuff like that. He's still around in our circles. Great guy. That's like my massive rosary that I own is from them, right? I use that rosary. The Idaho Tallow Company, That's what's like. I actually used their like face tallow moisturizer, and I put a little in my hair because I think it makes my hair look pretty good. So, I use them, and of course the coffee. I use that. So I'm never going to promote you guys something that I don't use, or I can't at least back up the company that is offering me the sponsorship or something like that, or the collaboration. But what the hell is going on with the whole gambling thing, man? Can we just be real for a moment? What's going on with the gambling thing? The sports betting thing? I mean, we have, that's what it was called, Bigger Z. Thank you, Patrick Groiper. We have the entire fucking world down our throats. Pause. But no, we have the entire world trying to kill us. We have the entire world trying to kill us, dismember everything that we're about, completely destroy everything we stand for, our Christian values, our America First values. And these guys have the gall to promote fucking sports gambling to their audiences that trust them, their audiences, their fans that they've cultivated, that have listened to their stuff, that have hung on with every word, and they've exploited their own audience. What the fuck is wrong with you? And you know what I like? You know what I really, really, really like? When they get confronted about it, they don't say, "Oh, you know what? My bad. Yeah, I shouldn't have actually promoted that. That was my bad. That was really bad of me. I took an L. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. Maybe I should have considered not promoting degenerate sports gambling. I'm really sorry I did that. I hope you guys can forgive me." No, they do one of two things. They're either silent, like, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to hold my tongue. I appreciate him having me on the show. I appreciate him helping me with the Give, Send, Go. That really, really helped me out when I was at my lowest and stuff like that. That really did mean a lot to me. Still does. Elijah, what are you doing, dude? What are we doing? Sports gambling? He has not said anything about it. No apology, no doubling down, nothing. He's just been completely silent. Completely silent. What are you doing, dude? I appreciate the crew at the Rift. They're great people. They are great people. I have nothing bad to say about the crew at the Rift. They're great people. I don't even really have anything bad to say about Elijah. But buddy, what are you doing promoting sports betting to your audience? You're better than this, man. And this is coming from someone who you helped out a lot. I'm not ungrateful for that. I'm very, very grateful for that. I always will be. But really? Sports gambling? Dude, like, you're making all these posts about becoming Christian and doing this and being persecuted by Kash Patel's girlfriend and stuff like that. And then it's like, everyone is like showing up for you, throwing you support and stuff like that. And you promote sports gambling to them. That's low, man. How about just an apology? I'm not, look, especially with him, and I'm biased, of course, because again, he helped me out, he helped me when I was in a really dark moment, but how about just an apology? We're just going to be silent about that. We're just going to pretend like you didn't promote a sports gambling ad. What's going on, dude? That really, really, really disappointed me. Him of all people. Him of all people. Because here's the thing, like, I don't have any connection with Jake Shields. I don't have any connection with Sam Parker besides I think Sam once requesting that I like collab on a reel or whatever. That's about it. I don't have any connection to these guys, but it kind of hurts when like it's someone who did help me and was kind enough to like let me on the show. Again, grateful for that. Not ungrateful. Not trying to burn bridges. But we're doing sports gambling. That's what we're doing. I was very disappointed to see him do that, dude. I'm going to be real. That's a big hit to your integrity. That's a big hit. Look, we all take L's. We all make mistakes. But it is another thing to try and exploit your audience. It's another thing to try and like do something that's like directly detrimental to your audience. People ruin their lives on sports gambling, dude. Do we realize that? Like, people ruin their lives. Like, people, have houses foreclosed and their families are like living in cardboard boxes because they bet everything on sports gambling. And now we're gonna like promote that to this audience of people that are, looking to any of us to like get some semblance of meaning or truth or the latest news or just some kind of affirmation in a world that hates them. What's going on there, dude? What's going on? That is honestly fucked up. That is some fucked up behavior. I'm not even gonna lie. I was disappointed about that. And you know what? Like, Jake Shields and Sam Parker and all those guys, fuck them. They're bad guys, honestly. I mean, seeing Jake double down on his sports gambling stuff, that was just low. Well, I guess you don't want to make money, bro. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. This is the problem with these like AF adjacent people who aren't Christian. Can we just be real for a moment? Like, this is the problem with these like AF adjacent people who like don't believe in God, or if they do, it's like a huge grift and it's basically just like, well, I believe because like I have to because I'm on the right wing. I have to believe because, I am on the right. So, I mean, if I'm not Christian of some kind, I'm not going to get money, right? There is a huge problem with these types. Like, and when I say AF adjacent, I want to clarify, because I'm in the Catholic circles, there's AF adjacent people there that are like not fully, don't fully call themselves gripers or whatever. I'm not talking about those people, but I am talking about these people that it's like the only thing they talk about is like the JQ or whatever. And I kind of, I'm going to be honest, like, why does that matter to you? Why does that question even matter to you? I mean, maybe from a national sovereignty perspective, okay. Maybe because like BlackRock is buying up all the houses. Okay, I could see that. But like, dude, like Jews want to give you like porn and gambling and all the degenerate things you're perfectly fine with. If you're not coming from a Christian view, why would you want to oppose that necessarily? What would be your real motivation for opposing that? Because if you just think that all this life, that all there is this life and nothing else matters, and you're just this like secular person, or you're like this deist, then how are those things really that offensive to you? You operate on a pleasure scale. You operate in hedonism. That's what they want to give you. They want to give you all the hedonism in the world, dude. I oppose Judaism because I'm Christian. I oppose Judaism because it's a false religion that is sending people to hell, either indirectly or either directly because it's literally keeping the Jewish people from knowing God, or indirectly, but also I guess kind of directly, in selling people pornography and taking over our countries and spreading anti-Christian propaganda and directly persecuting Christians. That's why I oppose Judaism. I don't oppose it because it's like, oh, I guess they kind of own Congress. Like, yeah, that's bad. But it's like, if I'm a secular person, it's like, why do I really care? Nothing matters except maximizing pleasure. Why does caring about America even matter at that point? America, like, if there's no spiritual significance to patriotism, then patriotism is like, you just happen to be born here and there's no real connection that you have. There's no connection that you have to the land or your ancestors or your race or your lineage or any of those things that actually matter. So why are you fighting against the Jews? They want to give you everything that you want. They want to sell you smut and debauchery and sin. And you seem to be perfectly okay with that. I don't trust these people, and I don't like them anymore. You know? I'm not going to judge if Nick works with them or whatever. You know, look, I get it. It's a very tight space. You got to work with whoever's willing to collaborate with you or whatever. That's not what I'm commenting on. But what I am commenting on is like in a manner of like personal relations, I do not trust Jake Shields. I do not like that guy. I don't trust Sam Parker. Morgan Ariel is gross. I'm not even really going to go off on her because I've tweeted enough about her. She's gross. I mean, you know, literally like trying to make people feel bad, like, well, and I don't want her to convert to Eastern Orthodoxy because Eastern Orthodoxy is not true, so she's not going to inherit the kingdom of God. Like that's, ironically, I care about her enough to want her to go to heaven, right? As we all do. We all care about her enough to like want her to believe in the true faith and go to heaven. And that's why I don't want her to convert to Eastern Orthodoxy. But like her tweeting out like, well, if this is just the way that women are treated online because Eastern Orthodox people are so mean and so sexist, then I'm going to delay my conversion. Dude, these reprobate women, it's like they don't believe in Christianity. Can we just be real? They don't believe in Christianity. These reprobate women, what they believe in is the aesthetics of Christianity. Again, they're on the right wing. They're right-wing e-girlies. And the thing that can maximize your like sexual marketplace value in this trad gooner sphere is if you pretend to convert to Christianity. Because you're going to have a million simps being like, oh my goodness, yes, queen. Yes, you're such a little traddy now. I love you. I'm just going to marry you. You know, I'm just going to kiss you. Morgan Ariel's going to go out with me, guys. Morgan Ariel's going to go out with me. Yes. The HPV-ridden single mom, she's going to go out with me. Yes. Oh, this is exactly what I wanted. Listen, I defended her against all the mean sexists online. She's definitely going to go out with, she's going to sleep with me, dude. She's going to sleep with me. That's going to be awesome. Because that's what you want, right? Don't dress it. Listen, Ortho bros, don't dress it up in religion. Don't dress it up in piety, man. We all know what you want. We all know what you want. Don't pretend you're doing this out of virtuous reasons. We know damn well you're not. Okay? We don't need to establish that fact. I know you're doing this because she's going to DM me. Thank you, King. Thank you for saving me from all the mean sexists. Oh my goodness, dude. These people, it's so bad. It's like, needless to say, as we've said before, I don't trust any of these AF adjacent people anymore. It's Nick or nothing. If you're not fully on Nick's side and you're doing your little side hustle thing, I don't honestly trust you as far as I can throw you. And you know, you can say whatever you want about like, guys, the Jews run everything. Guys, look, I posted this quote from the Talmud. Yeah, that's great. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can do that nowadays, dude. You're not special because of it. Arthur Quan Lee, Jake Shields, all these guys. Do you know what they would honestly be if it wasn't for talking about the JQ? Do you know what they would be? They would be washed up e-celebs. Every single one of them. They wouldn't have a channel. They wouldn't have any content. Jake Shields would be like some forgettable MMA guy. Like we'd be like, Jake who? Jake who? Right? But because he started commenting on the JQ, it's like, oh, Jake Shields. Well, this guy was in MMA, but he talks about the Jews, so that makes him special. Right? If he didn't comment on that, we wouldn't know who he is. Maybe some hardcore MMA fans would, but we would not know who he is. He would be another name and face. Arthur Quan Lee is like some like insecure Asian guy. I don't know if he's fully Asian or half Asian, but he seems like for someone who like seems to be proud of that, he seems weirdly insecure when white people show any semblance of like pride in ourselves. Like he's bothered by it. Like by me just saying I'm proud to be white, it's like a psychic attack on him. He's like, oh, no, white people are proud. Ah, dang it. No, I'm gonna piety signal you and say Christianity is about not paying attention to race at all, right? It's not about race at all, guys. He's insecure. He's insecure. I mean, maybe that's because he slept with Lily Gaddis at AFPAC 4, if we remember that, right? Or I take that back. I don't think it was at AFPAC 4, but they definitely did stuff together, right? You know, maybe he's feeling a little insecure about that. But yeah, my insecurity isn't your problem, and it's not anybody else's, okay? I'm proud to be white. I'm proud to be who I am. Do I think that other races of people should be proud of who they are? Absolutely. You're made in the image and likeness of God. You are a son of God. There is nothing that you could be more proud of than being a son of God. If you're black, be proud that you're black. If you're Asian, be proud that you're Asian. If you are white, be proud that you're white. That's how God made you. That is special. But it's always these like weird guys who seem like they can't just be proud of who they are. They have to be angry that everyone else is happy and confident in who they are. That's Arthur Kwan Lee. It's like he can't just be proud that he's Asian. He has to be like weirdly insecure that white people are proud of who they are. It doesn't make any sense to me, man. Facts and logic. Pulling up the video. Oh man, dude, this is going to be rough. I was listening to a little bit of this when I was like, I was on the machine and I wasn't on the machine. I was on the elliptical and I was like listening to a little bit of this and I was like, dude, this is bad. I had to turn it off. I mean, we're definitely going to like skip parts and stuff like that. We don't have to, you know, freaking listen to every line that this guy says. I just want to get to the meat and potatoes. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was this thing with Art Chad. You know, I tweeted out this tweet the other day where I was like, we should invade Canada just so we can stop the performative male video essayist. Because I'm sorry, like all these guys live in Canada and it's always the same thing. Well, I'm a liberal, but I'm not that far left. But also, guys, heckin' trans rights, okay? Listen, you don't have to be woke, but you do, as a decent person, still have to support trans rights. And I'm just like, you know, it's like J-Reg. It's that like weird Indian guy who I don't even know the name of him. I just thought his face looked stupid. It's JJ McCullough or whatever his name is. And I included Art Chat in that because I don't know. Sometimes he does kind of say things that are kind of that way, but he did follow me back and he was a pretty good sport about it. And I was like, damn, I actually feel kind of bad now. I feel bad. I mean, he did it. Okay, to be fair, in one of his videos, you know, he had, and I don't like that picture, but, you know, he did have that picture of like my face doing the like sneer or whatever. And he's like, if you're just an angry white chud or whatever. And it was like my face. And I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't go after him because of that reason, but I was like, okay, he did throw some jabs my way. I think I can kind of throw a little bit of, you know, jabbing back his way. But I DM'd him and I was like, hey man, like, you know, I was kind of reflecting on the post today and stuff like that. And, you know, seeing his reaction and all that. And you know, I think I was a little abrasive towards you and I'm sorry. You know, I was a little abrasive. I mean, we'll go more into this, but like when you watch his videos, like you really can tell that like at his heart, he is a real human being and he's just trying to find God. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. So I think the role I stepped in when I tweeted that image out or whatever towards him, the other guys I don't like. I'm sorry. I don't like Jay. I still want them to come to God. Don't get me wrong. I still want them to come to Christ and believe in God and be devout Catholics, of course, goes without saying. But, you know, it's like they're very arrogant. They're brash. JJ McCullough is like a huge liberal. J-Reg doesn't seem to take anything seriously. He's just like some You know, he's like one of those Jewish guys where it's like everything's a joke and let's be ironic about everything. And it's like, I still want them to, of course, accept Christ in their heart and be saved. I don't want them to not experience the eternal bliss of heaven. They're just not real human beings. But our Chad is, you know, he is a real human being. And I feel a little bad maybe like kind of reducing him to just you're just this performative male. That's who you are. I've put you in this box. You're just this performative male. It's like, nah, man. Like, look, you're a guy who's trying to find God like all of us. You're somebody who is trying to find truth. And, you know, like all of us, you're hurt by the world. You're hurt by modernity. You're hurt by a world that does not care about you. You were born into a world of the internet and, you know, the late end of capitalism and the sexual revolution and all these things. And it's like, you're struggling in that, you know? And I think almost like when I have had problems with him, it's almost been more like a big brother with a little brother. I mean, we're the same age. He might even be older than me, but like this kind of like, I know what you seek and I just wish I could show you. You know what I mean? It's like I just like, I see you going this way and I just want you to see it this way. I just want you to see the truth, man, because you're almost there. He makes videos all the time and he's like talking about how like Gen Z feels sullen and alone and doesn't have like any sort of meaning in our lives and how we just kind of go through our day waiting for death. And it's like, I see a lot of the stuff that I've talked about. I see my struggle and his struggle. You know what I mean? That's been my entire arc. That's been my entire story. And I see what he's struggling with. I see what he's going through. And it's almost like I just wish I could grab him and be like, bro, like, God didn't make you for this. Like, God didn't make you to just be like a generic liberal who has like kind of these bigger sociological takes of like, oh, well, people should just like adopt any religion because just religion in general is good or community in general is good. And it's like, no, like God is good. It's not any religion. You're not going to find happiness in Buddhism or Islam or Judaism or Hinduism or agnosticism. You're not going to, you know, there's a big difference with having community with your church and being in like the trans community. You know what I mean? And I just want him to know that God loves him. You know what I mean? I want all of those guys to, even the weird Indian guy who I don't like a whole lot. Like I don't like that guy and he probably, be like, you fucking chud. I hate you. You were that chud on Jubilee. I hate you, right? He might feel that way, but it's like, I want him to know and love God too. I want him to be incorporated into the divine life. And it's just sad when people aren't. So we'll watch some of our Chad's videos and respectfully we'll give like good criticism and love and charity and stuff like that. So Red Shark donated $10. Thank you for the $10, big guy. I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. Let me know in chat, did you send a message with that? If not, I'll check the power chat, just make sure I don't miss it. Or if there was like a video attached to it or something, like, I mean, if it's like an oiled up thug video, we'll play it right on the big screen, because I'm an oiled up thug as well. But if it's not that, that's okay. People in chat are going to be like, what did Pine Soup just say, dude? Stop being sussy. Stop being sussy. Well, you know what? That's just how I am, man. I am sussy. I have become sus. Destroyer of Among Us, dude.
If you've been on the internet anytime the past few months, you've probably seen Nick Fuentes' baby Godzilla-looking face plastered on a thumbnail for some slop podcast or another. He's been on the PBD podcast, the Dave Smith podcast, Bradley Martin's podcast, the Sam Hyde Show, the Gavin McInnes podcast, Glenn Greenwald Show, and the Tucker Carlson podcast, reaching millions of viewers in what he calls a generational run, especially because just a few years ago, he was kicked off social media for his extreme views and his participation in January 6th. Donald Trump is even talking about him nowadays.
Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him.
And the Senate is poised to strike him down. His live streams get tens of thousands of live viewers. There's probably more than a couple watching this video right now. While there's no solid data, more and more people are claiming that a significant portion of Gen Z men are flocking to Fuentes. And the reason this is bad is because he is wrong. So what does Nick Fuentes actually believe, and why is he wrong? This is What, Why, How, and that's what the video's about. If you like this sort of thing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel on patreon.com/whatwhyhow for early access to future videos. So let's first address the question of why Nick Fuentes is getting popular. I don't think Fuentes' success is because he makes especially coherent, rational, or accurate arguments. I think it's because 1, taboo things just get more attention. 2, he's funny in a sort of sassy theater kid way.
I kind of like lattes. I like Mexican food. I like La La Land. Arrest me! Officers, did you forget your handcuffs? Or am I free to go? Yeah, I like La La Land. And I like Joseph Stalin. And I'm done pretending that I don't. Did you forget your handcuffs? Or is that not a crime? Am I being detained? Anyway, what was the question?
3, he
Okay. There is something charming about being a little sassy. Okay? Because you get on the internet, you get all these like overly serious Gen X and millennial guys that are like, that's what being a man's about. You got to be a man, and you gotta grow a big old beard and drink Knob Creek whiskey and smoke your cigar. And we've talked about this a million times, right? Like that archetype. But then when you're like the fingernail painting emoji, and you got your matcha and you're painting your fingernail, right? That's got some like aura to it, dude. Like John Miller does that all the time. That's why I love John Miller, dude. He's just sassy. You got to be kind of a little sassy, right? If you're sassy, it's like you just have this like energy where things just roll off your back. If you're not sassy, it's like you take things overly serious and then you just kind of look like a dork, you know? Don't take things so seriously. Embody the like spirit of the fingernail painting emoji, right? Be a little sassy, drink your matcha, have your labubu. If you're not doing that, man, like you're missing the mark, honestly. Bruh, not. Dude, Nuki, see, your Gen X is coming out, bro. You got to get that whole Gen Z vibe. You got to get that like performative male vibe. See, Coffee Bean gets it. He's doing the sassy emoji in chat. Sassy and sussy sappy. That's what I'm saying.
His gnarled, double-jointed fingers at easy scapegoats for white men to blame all of our problems on. And 4, the weakness.
Do I have to paint my? No, don't. Okay, don't actually paint your nails. That is gay. Do not do that. I'm saying it's like you have to be like you have to just be a critic. You know, you got to be a little critic. Don't be gay, right? Don't be gay, but be a little bit of a critic. Have a little sass to it. You know. If you're a little sassy, it's like things just roll off your back. Just don't be self-serious.
Of alternatives. For number 4, obviously one alternative is the mainstream media, which nobody likes anymore, but the online political landscape is, to put it lightly, not good for young people either. Hassan Piker is the largest voice on the left, but his millionaire frat bro persona inevitably casts him as a hypocrite when he talks about real issues.
Kaya, please, just fucking go, just stop.
Then you have
That's crazy. Oh wait, let's see here. Stateless. Dude, I have to like read the like live chats on the actual thing. Let's see here. Stateless sent $5. Got work on the morning, so got to head out and catch the replay. Thanks for the stream as always. Hey, thank you, man. God bless you. Okay, we'll see you later. Okay, Stateless. Dude, we love Stateless.
On the center left, you have Destiny, another pervert. Conservative online personalities, meanwhile, have been completely unable to respond to Israel's mass murder campaign against Gaza, leaving anyone with a vague sense of morality looking around for someone to diagnose this obvious illness in Western civilization. Plus, the purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk has opened up the floodgates for a slew of previously banned and ostracized characters and given Fuentes a new cultural opening to leap from podcast to podcast into the public eye. But despite the fact that Fuentes' appeal is irrational, I'm hoping that presenting rational, evidence-based...
Okay, yes. Igna said it in chat. Be like Richard Spencer. Like, unironically, like the kind of like cultural critic energy that Richard Spencer brings, that is cool. Be that way. I like there's a couple people who embody this really well. Like Jordan B does a good job at it, Richard Spencer, John Miller, and then of course Nick, right? Like you got to be that kind of vibe. Because if you're just like overly serious about stuff and you're not like incisive, the other thing is too, I think it's a manner of just calling out things like it is. That's what I mean by sassy, like just calling out things like it is. Like something I hate about like something I honestly really, really hate about like conservatives in America is like they'll pretend that like really lame stuff is cool. Like they're like, oh, you know, Tom McDonald's cool because he's like on our side. So that just makes him default cool. Like forget about how absolutely like dog shit his music is. He's just cool because he calls himself MAGA. No, Tom McDonald's music sucks, dude. His music is awful. His music literally destroys your ears. It is the worst music I've ever listened to. I'm not going to pretend it's cool just because he like puts on a MAGA hat or whatever. Or it's like the people who unironically used like the whole panicking term for those of us who are critical of Trump. Like, oh, they're like, oh, all these panicans, and look what Trump's doing. Guys, did you see the shooter was like from Afghanistan or like supported the Taliban or whatever? Well, Trump's finally going to lock in and he's going to deport all illegals and immigrants. No, he's not, dude. He's not going to do that. You've convinced yourself that he is. He's not going to do that. Trump is not based. If you have not gotten that now, I can't help you. If you're not caught up to speed that Trump is not your guy, there is no helping you. There is no saving your peanut-sized goyim brain. Unironically, these people are like goyim, dude. Like when people use the term goyim, these people are goys. Like they just eat up whatever slop it's like Captive Dreamer. Like Captive Dreamer is such a goy. I mean, he literally is a Shabbos goy, but he's like, he just eats up like, did you trust the plan, Patriots? Well, he posts a picture of him like on like Norwood level 5 with his like big, disgusting, oblong Megamind head. You do not look cool, dude. You've got like a gay lisp and like a disgusting oblong head. Get that off my screen. You should have never face doxed, dude. It's like all the BAP guys. All the BAP guys do this. It's like they'll eat up whatever slop is MAGA or whatever, you know, BAP likes or the like non-Christian right likes, and it's gross. Right? They'll just completely like hand over fist like adore it and worship it and oh, this music, I'm going to pretend this music is good because the guy who wrote it is awesome. And you even get this kind of on the dissident right too. Like, I mean, again, we were talking about those grifters earlier, but it's like, they'll be like, guys, did you see this funny skit where someone mentions the Jews? Oh my goodness, it's funny because they mentioned the Jews. It's like the comedians that like rely on like cursing to make their joke funny. Like, it's not the content of their joke that's funny, like Dave Chappelle, and then he might add a curse on top of it. It's that he curses, it's that these kinds of comedians curse because it's like they can't be funny without cursing. Dave Chappelle could still make me laugh without dropping a single F-bomb. The F-bomb's just the like garnish on top. But he's still bringing out like a ribeye to me in terms of comedy. You know what I mean? I had like Kevin Hart playing today or something on like the TV just in the background while I was like texting you guys or like tweeting or something. And like Kevin Hart wasn't making me laugh because it was like all his comedy is just repeatedly cursing and like dropping F-bombs or, you know, calling people these like different ad hominems, but you know, they're also curse words. There's no content to it. He just thinks that like the curse itself is funny, and it's not funny, dude. You know? There's nothing funny about it. Tom McDonald is literally better than Kanye. Dude, oh my goodness. If I actually heard someone say that, I would crash out.
His claims will at least convince some of his fans. And if you aren't one of them, if you know he's already wrong, you can share this video with other people. So what does Nick Fuentes actually believe? Because you're sure as hell not going to learn that from the Tucker Carlson propaganda hour.
I was deeply Catholic, and I still am, deeply patriotic and pro-American, and I don't consider myself temperamentally to be an angry or a hateful person. So I never, in other words, lost my center. Like, my best friend is a Jewish person. You know, so like, but here's my substantive disagreement, because as a Catholic, I could not...
Sorry, I was laughing, like, it sped up, and then Tucker's like, no. It sounded like a Smurf or something like that. That's crazy.
Yes. In what you're saying, I love all people, even the ones that don't like us. We have to love them all, and we have to recognize that...
We're required to.
Yes. And especially, Aquinas says the Jews are a witness people, and so they actually have special protections under the law, according to Catholic philosophy.
Well, here is Nick Fuentes himself presenting a 30,000-foot view of his own ideology back in March of this year.
Jews are
That's actually true. Nick got that from St. Thomas Aquinas, and a really good place to read about that is there's this book you can get a PDF of it, but it's called St. Thomas Aquinas and the Jews. It's a very, very, very good book, not only on St. Thomas Aquinas, but also on like the church, what it taught about the Jewish people during the medieval times. And ironically, what's kind of funny is for all the people that say like Nostra Aetate is like disharmonious with tradition, if you read that book, you realize that they're full of shit, honestly. Like it is literally one of those books that like completely shows a continuity and a harmony with like Nostra Aetate and like all the other documents of the church. So that's really where Nick got that from. It's a very good book, actually. It's a very good historical resource.
running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. And we would live in paradise. It's that simple. It's literally that simple. But the older I get, the more I realize it is really this simple. We need white men in charge of everything again. That's it.
Real.
Like, it's that simple.
Here's another quote from him from October of this year.
Here's my program for America. One's in the chat if you agree. We're going to take all these Shapiros, the Weinsteins, the Epsteins, and we're going to take the Zorans, the Hassans, and the Ilhans. We're going to get them all together. We're going to put them on a ship, and we're going to send them back to the fucking Middle East. Send them back to the desert. You can have them.
One's in chat.
Let's get all the heads on one side. We'll get all the hats on the other. We're going to put them on a big luxury cruise ship or a giant Boeing 737 MAX, and we can send them all right back to the Middle East. And we'll be all day long. They'll be going to Iraq. They'll be going to Israel.
Now, obviously, he's joking around a bit, but the joke isn't the actual heart of the policy proposal. It's the flippancy with which he presents it. Nick Fuentes actually does believe we should kick out people like Ben Shapiro and Zohran Mamdani. Back in June, Nick Fuentes responded to Matt Walsh, Charlie Kirk, and Jack Posobiec by saying,
"Let me call your third world immigration moratorium, and let me raise you one. No immigration from non-white countries. Let's be simple. This is a white country. This should remain a white country. We should deport illegal immigrants to sustain the white demographics. We should cease immigration from non-white countries for the same purpose. Will you call me? Will you match me now? I'll do you one better. I think that Jews aren't white. So I think as long as we're on the subject, we shouldn't have any more immigration of Jews in the United States. As a matter of fact, I think that if Jews aren't loyal to America, I think they should leave too. I think any Mexican flag-waving Mexican, Palestinian flag-waving Arab, every Israel flag-waving, I think they should all go home. Because none of them are white, and none of them are loyal to America. Well, now the ball's in your court.
A couple minutes later, Fuentes added,
now the call is remigration and white identity on explicitly racial lines. And they're giving us this slop from 2015. People are eating it up.
You can tell that the loser who made this video is just sitting in his office chair, his like muffin top hanging out over, and listen, I'm not really as big of a guy as I used to be. I lost like 30 pounds, but like I was a big guy. I'm not much one to talk, but like muffin top hanging over. He's got his like sweater and his like, pencil protector in his pocket, and he's just fucking seething, man. He's just like, how dare this chud say that? I cannot believe he unironically said that. These people are like spiritual nerds. These people are spiritually nerds. Like they're resentful nerds. You see this all the time with like John Doyle, where he tries to like act tough. He tries to like act like the man, or like he's like laying down the law. He's laying down, kind of like principles, or, standing up for what he believes in. But it's just like they're these spiritually seething nerds. And they don't really like, you can escape that. I'm not a fatalist. I really do think that if you allow God to heal your heart, anything can happen, right? So I'm not one of these people that says like a tiger can never change its stripes. A tiger can. But I think the problem is you have to want to change, and you have to have enough self-reflection to understand, like, how am I operating this way right now? And a lot of these like spiritually nerdy people, they are very intent on staying that way, rather than ever like looking back at themselves and saying, well, what's making me nerdy? Being nerdy, like, if you want me to distill this for you, being nerdy is two things. It's pride and jealousy. It's pride and jealousy. If you don't have pride and jealousy, you're not a nerd. You can wear big jam jar glasses. You can have a pocket protector. You can look like you're out of Revenge of the Nerds and not be a nerd. Being a nerd is a spiritual thing. And it's people who are prideful and jealous. And it's people who are prideful and jealous but didn't have the things that they were jealous over. right? So again, in like Doyle's case, he probably was on like I'm gonna surmise his entire existence in high school because he seems to kind of perpetually live in it. He probably was not getting stuffed into lockers. That doesn't really happen much anymore. But he was probably like on the debate team, right? He was on the debate team. He was probably really good at speech and debate even, but that didn't pull the huzz. You know, girls weren't throwing their panties at him because he was on speech and debate. And that just really angered him. That just got under his skin. He just could not fathom why women wouldn't want to sleep with him, wouldn't want to be with him, wouldn't want to be with the alpha male on the speech and debate team. And so he seethed and he seethed and he seethed, and that just like crystallized in him. That just stewed in him. That just allowed him to stew up and get worked up, right? And rather than saying for a moment, okay, right? Let me ask myself this for a moment. Why, like, if I want a girlfriend, why do I not have a girlfriend? Okay, I'm on the speech and debate team. Well, what really matters to me? Do I want to be on the speech and debate team or do I want a girlfriend? If I want a girlfriend, there's two things. I can either just be confident in myself and everything will fall into place, right? Everything will fall into place. If I want a girlfriend, dude, here's the thing. I have seen guys, I'm not even kidding. I have seen guys who are nerdy, overweight, whatever, right? Who have pulled incredible girls just because they were themselves and they were confident in who they are. And they didn't care. They were like, hey, if I have a girlfriend, great. If I don't, whatever. They were indifferent. Let's see. Yes, King Sap, Rip Michael Hurd. Who's Michael Hurd? Who is Michael Hurd? I actually don't know who that is. Who's Michael Hurd? Who is that guy? Michael Hurd. Someone needs to tell me in chat who Michael Hurd is. But Agartha Massa, thank you for the $3. I really appreciate it. Don't dox me, bro. Let's go. You know, those nerdy guys, right? Or those overweight guys, or those out of shape guys, or maybe those kind of ugly guys or whatever. They just like, don't look it up, bro. Okay, I won't. I'm scared now. They pull because they just don't care. You have to not care. And honestly, like on a deeper level, don't be about women, bro. Like, we say this all the time, but it's like, don't be about women. Do not care about women. Be indifferent to women. You know, if you're meant to get a girlfriend and stuff like that, great, but like, just don't care. Be focused on your goals and be focused on becoming the man that God asked you to be, right? But the problem is, like, someone like Doyle, the only thing that separates him from like a douchebag womanizer is the douchebag womanizer has like enough riz to actually get girls and he doesn't. And so it's not that he's like more virtuous because he doesn't have women. He still wants women as badly as the like womanizer type guy. It's just he doesn't have the riz to like get him. Right? He's not Clav, he's not you know, like Myron or any of these guys, right? He's not an Andrew Tate. He's like this nerdy, weird guy who looks like he fell out of the 50s. So it's, I don't know, man. It's spiritually nerdy. It's pride and jealousy. That's the two magical combinations. And then it's like, as we always say, when he got the girl, he couldn't get it up. Let's just say he couldn't step up to the plate. He couldn't get up the courage. He couldn't work up the courage to, you know, pull it off. So he couldn't get up the courage to pull it off, you know? And it's like, you know, no, I don't know what joke I was going to make. I was about to make a bad joke, but we're not going to do that. So yeah, I mean, even when he had it, he couldn't reach point A to point B. So it's these people who live in perpetual resentment. You have to free yourself of that kind of resentment. Look, you're not owed a girlfriend because you exist or whatever. You just need to be indifferent to that, and you need to just focus on what God wants for your life and the vocation that you're supposed to live.
Calling it a victory. I don't think so. I'm not going to do it. I'm not about to lay down my arms.
He even has a girl giving him a kiss in the intro of the show. Yeah, is that his sister again? Because reminder, on his original show, that's his sister kissing him in the opening. Did they bring back his sister to give him a kiss once again? Or did they just or did the Blaze hire some poor intern girl, some poor intern e-girl? Normally I don't feel bad for e-girls, but do they force some poor e-girl working on set to give him a kiss? Man, someone needs to send her a bouquet of roses, bro. That's sad.
I'm America first. I'm a Christian nationalist. I'm a white nationalist. This is a white nation. Should be a white nation. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Okay, so does everybody understand Nick Fuentes now? Is there any confusion? He wants to deport a substantial amount of non-white people, even citizens. He wants white people to rule the country, and he wants the basis of the new white country to be his particular interpretation of Catholicism. Nick Fuentes is a white Catholic American nationalist. I'm pretty sure he...
Where's my white Catholic American nationalist in chat? Call out. Where's my white Catholic American nationalist? Pull up right now, bro. That goes so hard, actually. Wakan, bro. Wakan goes hard. We are Wakans, bro. We are Wakans. White Catholic American nationalists. That's what we are, bro. Zayst.
would describe himself that way. He basically did in that quote. Now, the issue is there are pretty obvious contradictions in this set of beliefs. If you want to have an understanding of the world, you need some sort of belief set, and the belief set shouldn't be contradictory, otherwise it's a bad set of beliefs. Here's one contradiction. The Catholic Church has condemned anti-Semitism for decades. Pope Paul VI declared in 1960...
What? No, dude, what? I've never heard that before! You're telling me this for the first time!
That furthermore, in her rejection of every persecution against any man, the church, mindful of the patrimony she shares with persecution, by the way, the Pope is...
Oh my goodness, dude. Okay, so like I said, we're not going to spend forever on this video. Number one, here's a couple different things. And this is a classic category error that people make literally, reading Nostra Aetate. The ADL's definition of anti-Semitism is not and I know some of you are going to be like, don't use the term anti-Semitism. We're just using it as a placeholder, so don't freak out. Here's the thing. The actual sin of anti-Semitism is wildly different than the way this guy defends it. We did, of course, an entire video on it, but if you guys remember, Father Gustav Gunlock, who I talk about in that video, was the Jesuit priest who helped draft it never was released, but he helped draft a draft encyclical for Pope Pius XI called Humanae Generis Unitas, the unity of the human family, right? I don't think that's the exact translation of it, but that's the theme of the document. And that document makes a really good distinction already with what the sin of anti-Semitism is. But okay, Miss Machiavelli, $5. Thank you for the $5, Miss Machiavelli. Hi, Sappy. Can you come back to Chicago to protect me from these crazies? Thank you for being a moral voice in a space of greedy grifters. I keep you in my prayers. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't know, man. Listen. I can't be fake selling. I gotta be true sell. I gotta be a real sell. I gotta lock in. We're locking in. Lock W. Goon lock. We're goon locking in right now. We're goon locking in. But thank you for the $5, Miss Machiavelli. I appreciate it. But needless to say, so he drafts this encyclical, and it already makes a really good distinction between what is, and we'll actually read this segment, right? We'll read this segment real quick. It is worth reading. Humanae Generis Unitas. Okay, let's go here. I'm trying to see where exactly the So we're going to look at line 42 here, right? Line 42 about sums up the correct approach to Jews from a Catholic perspective and Judaism, right? 142. Also, I got to get this stuffy nose figured out, man. It is driving me insane. I'm going in, I didn't tell you guys this. I'm going into surgery December 8th because actually my left tonsil grew back. I got my tonsils removed when I was 9 and my left one grew back, so I need to get it removed again. But I want to see if there's something wrong with my sinuses because I feel very not congested, but it just feels very tight up here right now, right? Like tight in my head. And I want to see, I don't know if it's something wrong with my sinuses or whatever, but it's driving me insane. It's every single time I talk. So 142 says the following, and this is the distinction that we make. The lofty concept of the church has forever held relative to the vocation of the Jewish people as seen from their past history and our ardent hopes for their eventual salvation in the future do not blind her to the spiritual dangers to which contact with Jews can expose souls, or make her unaware of the need to safeguard her children against spiritual contagion. Nor is this need diminished in our own time. As long as the unbelief of the Jewish people persists, as long as there is an active hostility to the Christian religion, just so long must the church use every effort to see that the effects of this unbelief and hostility are not to redound to the ruin of the faith and morals of her own members. Where, moreover, she finds that hatred of the Christian religion has driven misguided souls, whether of the Jewish people or of other origin, to ally themselves with or actively to promote revolutionary movements that aim to destroy society and to obliterate the minds of men, the knowledge, reverence, and love of God. She must warn her children against such movements, expose the ruses and fallacies of their leaders, and find against them appropriate safeguards. Okay? It's very important. We continue. We find that in her history, the church has never failed to warn her children against the teaching of the Jews, when such teaching has been directed against the faith. The church has never sought to minimize the terrific force of the reproaches addressed by the proto-martyr Saint Stephen against those of the Jewish people who knowingly resisted the call of grace, stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ear. Acts 7:50. The church has warned likewise against an over-familiarity with the Jewish community that might lead to customs and ways of thinking contrary to the standards of Christian life. The unyielding energy at one time and the mildness at another of such warnings and measures of self-protection correspond not to any interior change in the church's policy toward the Jews, which remains unaltered, but to altered circumstances and to variations of attitude upon their part. The policy of the church herself in this matter is not to be confounded with the policy of mere individuals. It is to be determined by the conduct of her bishops taken as a whole, her councils, especially the ecumenical councils, and most particularly that of her supreme pontiffs. That is how the church understands anti-Semitism, right? That's how the church has always understood anti-Semitism. It's not hard to understand, right? And it even goes on in line 143 to say this. While, however, the teaching of the church considering the relation of the Jewish community with the Christian community, as well as the church's practical attitude in the face of the problems encountered clearly demonstrate the need for energetic measures to both preserve the faith and morals of her members and society itself against the corrupting influence of error. These same doctrines likewise show the utter unfittedness and inefficacy of anti-Semitism as a means of achieving that end. They show anti-Semitism not only is pitifully inadequate, but also defeating its own purposes and producing in the end only greater obstacles to cope with. Right? So that's very, very, very important. What is the church saying here? What is the church's understanding of anti-Semitism? it can be succinctly boiled down to this. We can never, as Catholics, advocate for taking anyone's human rights away. The rights that God gives every single human being. You can't impede people from feeding themselves, feeding their children, holding a job, allocating resources, being able to exist in peace, etc., etc. I think that's pretty clear. I don't think I have to get that detailed with it. You guys know what I mean. But that does not permit Jewish people to exercise a corrupting influence on society and against Catholicism. And so when the church condemns anti-Semitism, this is the mind by which she operates with. This is the mind by which she condemns the sin of anti-Semitism. This idea that the sin lies in unjustly persecuting Jewish individuals or mistreating people on the basis of being Jewish, which has always been a sin. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, for instance, during his time, there were a lot of persecutions against Jews, and he condemned them, and he said, "Hey, don't persecute these people. This is wrong." In the same breath, he condemned the errors of the Jews and stood against them. Two things can be done at once. You don't have to have this binary of I have to be either this raging neo-Nazi, or I have to be this just philo-Semitic dish rag. This philo-Semitic wimp who just allows Jewish people to walk all over me. That's what a guy like this doesn't understand. He just hears the term anti-Semitism and he instantly thinks he's that just means that you can never oppose Jewish people ever, and you can never have any problem with their religion because that's a sin. Well, congratulations, you've condemned 2,000 years of church history. And on top of that too, Pope St. Paul VI, who is the same Pope that issued this document, had this to say in his Good Friday homily. I do love Rorate Cheli. It's a very good website. I don't always agree with the takes on church politics, but their resources and stuff like that are excellent. They're super good. Let's see here. Caser Pro. Let's see here. Dude, if you're going to be a pagan or something in chat, you need to respect where you're at right now. We are not pagan. Paganism is gay. Either know your place in chat or get the fuck out. I'm not doing this whole... It's like that guy the other day that I was interacting with, and he was like, your guy's religion is wrong. Hail Odin or whatever. And he's like, you're so illiterate. You don't even know what your own church teaches. And I'm going to debunk you on the kill stream. And it's like, who are you? You're some trailer park neo-Nazi loser, dude. I'm not wasting my time with you. I always love these guys who it's they have no, because they live in the middle of Alabama or something, in some no-name trailer park. The only thing they can do all day is try to pick random fights on the internet. Yeah, dude, I'm definitely going to waste my time with someone who has no motion and no aura. I don't think so. This is what St. Paul VI had to say in his homily. It, the Passion of our Lord, is a grave and sad page which evokes the clash between Jesus and the Jewish people. This people predestined for receiving the Messiah, which was awaiting him for thousands of years and was entirely absorbed by this hope and certitude at the crucial moment, that is, when Christ comes, speaks and manifests himself, not only does not recognize him, but combats him, slanders him, and finally will kill him. He recognizes our Holy Father, St. Paul VI, recognized the conflict between Judaism and Christianity. Same Pope that issued Nostra Aetate. I would ask this individual is not Catholic, so I don't really give a fuck what he has to say. But if he proclaims to be Catholic, I would ask him, are you going to condemn the same Pope that issued Nostra Aetate of anti-Semitism? Because that's what you need to do at this rate. Are you really going to do that? I don't think so, pal. You have no basis. These people never know what the fuck they're talking about. And I love that there's a video to kind of like characterize this whole class of Catholic online. I don't like piety signalers. I don't get along with them. I don't like them, and they do not like me, and we're never going to get along. These mealy-mouthed, nasally, annoying little worms have a completely ahistorical view of Catholicism. And their Catholicism boils down to, guys, don't be mean to women and Jews. Don't be mean to women and Jews. Even though it's like we're not promoting actually being rude or actually being uncharitable. Of course we're not. That's a sin against charity. But it's like, to them, being mean is like telling, again, Morgan Ariel, hey, don't block the iconostasis with yourself in the picture. You're vain. Why are you putting yourself in front of the iconostasis? Your vanity is not going to be covered by your piety. Don't be mean to women, guys. You know, Jewish people will literally call us goyim and like insult Christ on the timeline on Twitter. And then it's like you get these little mealy-mouthed, freaks being like, why are you being mean to the Jewish people right now? Don't you understand that they're chosen? Don't you understand that they're the chosen people? And it's like, this guy is literally blaspheming Christ, dude. Can you try to like get on Team Catholic for a moment? Can you try to focus on Team Catholic and not on whatever like little freakish Discord server you and all your little gooner buddies hang out on? Thanks, but no thanks.
The moral authority, except obviously Scripture and God. This has been the case forever, but here's what Lumen Gentium, one of the foundational documents of the Catholic Church since 1964, says. In matters of faith and morals, the bishops speak in the name of Christ, and the faithful are to accept their teaching and adhere to it with a religious assent. We
all know what Lumen Gentium teaches, dude. Yeah, you have to obey the Pope. We all know that, okay? Let's try to keep up a little bit, pal. I love it. In fact, let me see if my comments under this video. Submit to the Pope. Surrender in mind and will to the Pope. Look at this guy. Surrender in mind and will to the Pope. Yeah, I commented nerd glasses emoji to that. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude. Keep my faith out of what, why, how. If you're watching, do me a favor, keep my faith out of your mouth. You're clearly not Catholic, dude. You don't know the first thing about Catholicism. So instead of acting like a subversive freak, why don't you crawl back to whatever side of bread tube you're from? You weird freak. Don't talk about my faith. Don't talk about our faith. Keep it out of your mouth. I love how these like bread tube freak. It's like Vosh that one time when he was on like the Surfs podcast talking about like Spexo a long time ago. This happened like 3 years ago, but they like made a video about Spexo and he's like, yeah, these are the kind of like tradcath guys that don't actually go to church and stuff like that. Dude, you literally have CP and animal pornography on your hard drive. Shut the fuck up. Do not comment on my faith, dude. You are literally a degenerate freak. I think you need to focus on getting your soul right with God before you can ever comment on anyone else's faith. It's so unbelievable. The arrogance of these left-wing people, I would just rather them say that they hate Catholicism because we actually represent what it teaches than try to pretend they're like, no, these guys, Catholicism is actually what those heckin' Latinxes that crawl over the border that don't believe in half the church's teachings. That's actually true Catholicism. You know, where they get a big Our Lady of Guadalupe tattoo, but if I go up to them and ask, hey, what does Our Lady of Guadalupe mean? Oh, I don't know, man. And like, I use like contraception with my girlfriend and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't think you're Catholic, pal. I don't care. I actually don't care that you just have a rosary hanging up in your car. That doesn't mean anything. You praying that rosary? Do Do you go to Mass? And even if you do go to Mass, do you actually believe everything the church teaches? If so, great, you're a brother in Christ. I've got zero issue with you. Welcome home, brother. Love you. But if you're, Vosh, his conception of Catholicism is like some illegal immigrant that like uses contraception and like doesn't even believe in like half of what the Catholic Church teaches. That's like his conception of Catholicism. That's like this guy's conception of Catholicism. Catholicism is like heckin' about just like opening our borders and never having immigration laws ever. And also always just kowtowing to whatever Jews want us to do. Yeah, that's Catholicism. I don't remember reading that in the catechism, big guy. Yeah, last time I checked, I don't think I remember reading that in the catechism. Anything from Pope Leo, Pope Francis, Pope Benedict, like just the entirety of our faith and what it's always going to teach. I don't think that pertains to the content of it. You want to do that stuff, dude? Go be Episcopalian. Go wave your go be like an ELCA Lutheran and wave your big rainbow flag outside your fake church. But don't pretend that you're Catholic. You're not. You're not on the team. So this guy, I'm not going to even waste time with it. This guy's going to waste his time, quoting Pope Pius XII's document of migration. Real quick, I have a book that we need to download because it's very good for this content, but I'll show you it. We're just going to pull quotes from it, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. Edward. So my one criticism of All One in Christ is that I think Ed does lean a little too much towards denying the value of race or denying the positive value of race. But I will say, if you do want a really good book on what the church teaches on like immigration, it's a solid book. It's honestly a really good book. I mean, it's like a really good quote mine and stuff like that of just like solid quotes from different popes on immigration being like, no, you actually don't have to allow millions of people like pour over the border into your country. And we're going to download it off Anna's archive real quick, just so I can like read you guys some of the quotes. But let's see here. Piety, I was reading the title of this video. Nuki McGroipface sent $3. Oh, also, sorry. So Agartha Massa earlier sent $3. You and every true cell in chat are invited to Texas. And then there's a censored word, cookout. Love you, Pine Sap. God bless. Well, hey, man, I love you too. God bless you. And then Nuki McGroipface sent $3. I spent the time doing a full critique comment of his video, and he was just stumbling over himself replying to me. They never have answers. All they have, all these like r/Catholicism types have is like piety signaling. It's not about them actually being right. It's just about, they'll just like lob like, well, that wasn't very charitable of you, was it? Get bent, dude. Get bent. Yeah, I'm going to show you my charity right now. Get bent. That's my charity, by the way. I get so tired of these people, man. Like, always the like, that wasn't very charitable, was it? Like, literally, I'm not even kidding. Like, some e-girl can, like, get done just having killed her baby and literally be tweeting about it on the timeline like, yeah, guys, I heckin' love abortion and abortion's great and I just don't regret killing my child at all. And then someone will, like me will be like, you are disgusting and you need to repent, or honestly, you need to be locked in jail. And then you'll have these people come in, they're like, was that really charitable? Was that really a nice thing to do? Yeah, because I said it. Yeah, actually, it is nice to call sin for what it is and not stumble over myself because I think the girl's hot, like you do. That's literally like all those guys. Let's be just honestly so for real for a moment. Let's be so for real just for once. Sorry, I'm trying to find the book. Let's be so for real just for one second. I'm actually downloading it off Isidore's right now. Hopefully I can access it from... Heck yeah. Let's see if I can open this on Brave. But let's honestly be for real right now. Do you think like any of these guys would, and I'm not going to like go off forever on her or whatever, but like, you know how all these guys, like we talked about this before, but all these guys were the ones defending Nala Ray. And now she's like doing like a video of me. I'm doing a dance battle with Saint Mary Magdalene in heaven. And it's like, she's trying to like look all like saucy for the camera and stuff like that. Do you think if Nala Ray was like 300 pounds with a clubbed foot and like an ugly face, these guys would be defending her? No, they wouldn't. They only defend her because they have this vain hope that they're going to sleep with her. They have this vain hope that she's going to like text me, be like, King, I'm so proud of you. You defended me from the anonymous internet sexist. And I'm so proud of you. Okay, it's chapter 3. Heck yeah. 31. And we're not going to like read all the pages. We're just going to pull out like some quotes and stuff like that and kind of talk about it. But yeah, all these guys, literally every single one of these guys, like they like Nala Ray because she looks like an OnlyFans star. And they're probably buying OnlyFans. Let's be also for real. They're probably like paying for OnlyFans while being like, don't heck and judge her, guys. Don't heck and judge. Did you know that she's just like Saint Mary of Egypt? No, she actually isn't, because Saint Mary of Egypt was a beautiful, repentant woman who lived the rest of her life in asceticism, and she didn't create an Instagram to post TikTok dance battles of herself where, you know, she's got a quarter zip on and you know, just did her makeup just right. Why are you comparing the saints to holy women? I've never understood that. Like, do you not understand the level of blasphemy that is? You're literally saying that this saint of God, this beautiful saint of God who is in heaven praying for us right now, is the equivalent of some random e-girl dancing on TikTok? That is unbelievably irreverent, dude. Let's see here. The rights and duties of nations and immigrants. Okay, so let's see here. So that's against racism. So this from Memory and Identity by St. John Paul II. In his book, Memory and Identity, Pope St. John Paul II noted that citizens of the modern Western countries often have reservations about the notion of national identity as expressed through culture, and have even arrived at a stage which would be defined as post-identity. Man, if that ain't the truth, man. There is a widespread tendency to move towards supranational structures, even internationalism, with small nations allowing themselves to be absorbed into larger political structures. I mean, when Alex Jones or, you know, any other conservative commentator talks about globalism, this is the globalism that St. John Paul II is condemning, right? However, the Pope noted the disappearance of the nation would be contrary to the natural order of things as understood by the Church. Yet it still seems that the nation and native land, like the family, are permanent realities. In this regard, Catholic social doctrine speaks of natural societies, indicating that both the family and the nation have a particular bond with human nature, which has a social dimension. Every society's formation takes place in and through the family. Of this, there can be no doubt. Yet something similar could also be said about the nation. In particular, says the Pope, the nation and the cultural heritage that defines it cannot be replaced by mere political institutions or legal ties between people. The term nation designates a community based in a given territory and distinguished from other nations by its culture. Catholic social doctrine holds that the family and the nation are both natural societies, not the product of mere convention. Therefore, in human history, they cannot be replaced by anything else. For example, the nation cannot be replaced by the state, even though the nation tends to naturally to establish itself as a state. Still less is it possible to identify the nation with a so-called democratic society, since here it is a case of two distinct, albeit interconnected orders. Democratic society is closer to the state than it is the nation, yet the nation is the ground on which the state is born. right? As St. John Paul II says, the nation must exist as a state. And as he goes on, right, the issue of democracy he goes on to say, the issue of democracy comes later in the area of the internal politics of the state, right? So the nation is the foundation of everything. The nation is the foundation of all. Also, I'm banning this this guy. Yep. See you, bud. He's like, just answer one question about paganism. No, I'm good. Right? So if the nation is the foundation of the state, the nation has to be preserved. You can't preserve a nation without preserving the racial characteristic of that nation. If I take a bunch of Ethiopians and put them in Great Britain, the geographic boundaries of Great Britain, it doesn't make them British any less than it makes putting a bunch of British people in Ethiopia. That doesn't make them Ethiopian. And it's uncontroversial with these types for me to say that about like when it touches black people, but when it touches white people, well, no, white people don't. What even is white? And well, you remember that Irish people used to not be called white. That's the kind of shit that they pull. And it's completely ridiculous. It's just this like equivocation and trying to dance around the issue. Because I guarantee like someone like this would probably like moral fag and piety signal about like George Floyd, right? Like when George Floyd died and, it was BLM, Black Lives Matter, all that stuff, right? If I said, well, what even is black? I mean, there's Ethiopians, there's South Africans. Can we really identify being black? He would call me a racist. But then suddenly he feels the need to do that to white people. Oh, whiteness is just this made up thing and it's this abstract concept. Yeah, but if I say, oh, well, George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose and didn't die because of the cops. Oh, you're racist towards black people. Oh, what is black people, dude? Well, that just seems like a category in the mind. See the double standard there? Yeah, suddenly race is very real when it's not white people. But when it's white people, well, we just can never talk about it. And white people just have to let everybody in. So St. John Paul II goes on to say, he says, thus patriotic attachment remains, today no less than in the past, something to which the nation has a right to. The Pope writes, if we ask where patriotism appears in the Decalogue, the reply comes without hesitation. It is covered by the fourth commandment, which obliges us to honor our father and mother. It is included under the umbrella of the Latin term pietas, which underlines the religious dimension of the respect and veneration due to parents. Patriotism is a love for everything to do with our native land, its history, its traditions, its language, and its natural features. It is a love which extends also to the works of our compatriots and the fruits of their genius. Every danger that threatens the overall good of our native land becomes an occasion to demonstrate this love. Wow. That's crazy, right? So he's establishing this as the foundation of a nation. So we haven't really gotten into immigration a ton, but we're just kind of talking. And Phaser goes on with a couple other quotes or whatever. We'll kind of brush past those just for the sake of time. But we've established what a nation is in Catholic theology. It's not just a state. It's not just like a social compact. It is a very real and distinct group of people. A race, right? It's a race. A nation is a race. If a nation is not a race, then what is a nation? It's nothing. Your race is your nation, and your nation is your race. And if you're not doing things to preserve that, you are sinning, right? Now, there can be sinful means of trying to preserve that, and we'll get into that, of course, right? And this is where we make important distinctions. But it is not a sin to fight for your race. It's a duty, actually. This is what St. John Paul II makes clear. And a nation can, of course, have multiple races in it. But if the characteristic of that nation, the racial makeup of that nation no longer existed, it wouldn't be that nation anymore. If America fails to be supermajority white, it's not America anymore. It's a different country entirely. In line, about making a distinction here, and it's kind of talking about like the abuse of nationalism or what have you. In line with this traditional teaching, the compendium of the social doctrine of the church affirms that though nations must exclude every abuse of basic human rights, and particularly the oppression of minorities, of course, that goes without saying, a nation has a fundamental right to existence, to its own language and culture through which a people expresses and promotes its fundamental spiritual sovereignty, to shape its life according to its own traditions, and to build its future by providing an appropriate education for the younger generation. Right? The right has implications for minority communities. In the encyclical Pacem in Terris, Pope St. John the 23rd insisted that nations treat minority ethnic communities justly, especially in what concerns their language, culture, ancient traditions, and their economic activity and enterprise. But he also cautioned that minority communities have an obligation to respect and to integrate into the culture of the larger nation within which they reside. He wrote, "It is worth noting, however, that these minority groups, in reaction perhaps to the enforced hardships of their present situation or to historical circumstances, frequently tend to magnify unduly characteristics proper to their own people. They even rate them above those human values which are common to all mankind, as though the good of the entire human family should subserve the interests of their own particular groups." Wow, that's kind of like the Viva La Raza guys who literally burned down LA. Oh man, like we're Mexican. Oh, but we're like also Catholic too. So like you have to like let us burn down your city, bro. Because it'd be like a sin against charity if we didn't. Yeah, get bent, buddy. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And also you're not Catholic too. Can we just be honest? The Viva La Raza guys are not Catholic. That's cool that you're Mexican. That we aren't Jewish, okay? You're not born a Catholic. You either are a Catholic in the way that you live and believe the faith, or you're not. I do not give a flying fuck that you were baptized. You have to actually live out your faith. These people just think that it's like the waters of baptism fall on their head and it just means they're magically Catholic forever. It's like, yes, you have the indelible mark of baptism. Nobody's denying that, but your faith is something that is lived. It's not something that you just say, well, dude, I was like born this way, so that just means I'm like always this way no matter what. That's not how that works, pal. Not how that works at all. A more reasonable attitude for such people is to adopt what would be to recognize the advantages too, which accrue to them from their own special situation. They should realize that their constant association with a people steeped in a different civilization from their own has no small part to play in the development of their own particular genius and spirit. Little by little, they can absorb into the very being those virtues which characterize the other nation. But for this to happen, these minority groups must enter into some kind of association with the people in whose midst they are living, and learn to share their customs and way of life. It will never happen if they sow seeds of disaffection, which can only produce a harvest of evils, stifling the political development of nations. Right? And then, of course, we have, we all know CCC 2241. I'm just going to leave that for now since, I mean, that's very easy to look up. And I think we're all very familiar with what the Catechism says in that paragraph. So I'll just leave that for now. Right? But, you know, caring for political refugees and stuff like that. Look, I've always said it this way. When the popes comment on immigration, what they're saying is like, when people come to your border, like, you know, like women and children and stuff like that, you're not going to take like a machine gun and gun people down. That's completely a sin against that's completely a sin against charity. That's disgusting and repulsive, right? No Christian would promote that. That's what they're condemning and speaking out against. But if you find a situation where it's like, okay, we send these people back to where they come from, that's not unjust and that's not a sin against charity. people really like can't seem to kind of like make this distinction. It either has to be this sort of like just, oh, we need to allow like everyone to come here, or we need to like just kind of like have like no borders, or if we don't allow everyone to come here, then that means we just like we hate everybody, right? We hate everybody and we're like actual racists or whatever. That's not the case at all, right? It's not the case at all, right? So even Pope Francis, who would speak on this issue all the time, what does he say here? Those who arrive are duty bound not to close themselves off, from the culture and traditions of the receiving country, respecting above all its laws. And he has acknowledged the presence of migrants and refugees seriously challenges the various societies which accept them. Those societies are faced with new situations which could create serious hardship unless they are suitably motivated, managed, and regulated. Well, it's almost like it's almost like when Wignats freak out because the Pope is like, hey, literally just don't kill people. Don't like starve people to death or kill them or dehumanize them. And they're like, the Catholic Church is like the biggest anti-white organization in the world. It's almost like the Pope completely fucking makes them look like idiots and shows, oh, actually, it's just saying be a decent human being. Just have a basic sense of humanity and like don't mistreat people. That's the teaching of the church. It's not, you can't literally have borders and literally not have a nation. Right? That's just not the case. That's never been the case. And I would love if people actually did their research instead of having like Avril, talk out his ass about like, well, I studied Catholicism and I was Catholic for X amount of years or whatever. And I know what the church teaches. No, you do not, dude. This is like the Wignat equivalent of I went to Catholic high school. So I'm a regular old St. Thomas Aquinas. I went to Catholic high school, guys. I'm basically St. Thomas Aquinas. Yeah, I didn't realize that getting like a subpar education at a school that's Catholic means that you're suddenly the angelic doctor. Forgive my ignorance. I didn't realize I was in the presence of such a high, big-brained individual. Unbelievable, man. Similarly, in 2001, Pope John Paul II acknowledged that even highly developed countries are not always able to assimilate all those who emigrate, and that while the church strongly affirms the right to emigrate, certainly the exercise of such a right is to be regulated because practicing it indiscriminately may do harm and be detrimental to the common good of the community that receives the migrant. In 1995, he emphasized the need to welcome migrants, to take account of the dangerous circumstances that they are sometimes fleeing, and to avoid all racist and xenophobic attitudes. At the same time, he acknowledged that migration is assuming the features of a social emergency, above all because of the increase of illegal migrants. That's his own text. And that the problem is delicate and complex. He affirmed that illegal immigration should be prevented, and that one reason it is problematic is that the supply of foreign labor is becoming excessive in comparison to the needs of the economy, which already has difficulty in absorbing its domestic workers. Well, it's like how so many of us can't get a job because of H-1B, bro. It's crazy. It's like so many of us can't get a job because of H-1B, and the Pope's literally speaking on that right now. It's kind of crazy how he like almost preemptively knew that this would happen. You know what I mean? Like he almost preempted and knew that like something like this was going to occur. It's insane, man. You know? It's crazy. Let's see here. In some cases, it may be necessary to advise migrants to seek acceptance in other countries or to return to their own country. Remigration. As Pope Francis has said, as nations work together to address the plight of migrants, quote, It must also be emphasized that such cooperation begins with efforts of each country to create better economic and social conditions at home, so that emigration will not be the only option left for those who seek peace, justice, security, and full respect of their human dignity. The creation of opportunities for employment in the local economies will also avoid the separation of families, and ensure that individuals and groups enjoy conditions of stability and serenity. Right? So literally, it's like, and he goes on, Ed goes on to quote St. Thomas Aquinas. He says, let's see, do I love Nick? Yeah, I do. St. Thomas Aquinas teaches, Augustine says, since one cannot do good to all, we ought to consider those chiefly who by reason of place, time, or any other circumstance, by a kind of chance, are more closely united to us. Now, the order of nature is such that every natural agent pours forth its activity first and all on the things which are nearest to it. Oh, did it get cut off? No. Okay, we're good. But it's just super zoomed in. I was like confused. I was like, why is the text so big? But the bestowal of benefits is an act of charity towards others. Therefore, we ought to be most beneficent towards those of us who are closely connected with us. Now, one man's connection with another may be measured in reference to the various matters in which men are engaged together. Thus, the intercourse of kinsmen is in natural matters, that of fellow citizens is in civic matters, that of faithful is in spiritual matters, and so forth. And various benefits should be conferred in various ways according to these various connections. Because we ought in preference to bestow on each one such benefits as pertain to the matter in which, speaking simply, he is most connected with us. For it must be understood that, other things being equal, one ought to succor those rather who are most closely connected with us. You literally have a duty to have charity, most especially towards those mostly connected to you. That's why, you have to focus most on evangelizing your own family before you can go and evangelize the entire world, right? That's why you need to focus on evangelizing your nation before you can go evangelize the entire world. That's why you need to do what's right by your nation first, and then you can help the entire world. St. Thomas Aquinas, right there, completely destroys suicidal empathy. The same suicidal empathy that a lot of women vote for and stuff like that is completely destroyed by the angelic doctor there. Because he's saying, look, you have a duty to preserve your nation and your country and care for it. And it's not an act of charity when you bring a bunch of migrants in and they completely disrupt and destroy your nation. This is Catholicism. And so this chucklehead doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He just quotes one document about being generally nice and respecting the dignity of migrants, and then suddenly takes that and says, oh, you just need to have this undue level of suicidal empathy for these people, completely betray your race, completely betray your people, and never have any pride in who you are. And per usual, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. SOG posted in chat even a quote from our Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, that he actually spoke recently this year. I thank God for those Christians, Eastern and Latin alike, who, above all in the Middle East, persevere and remain in their homelands, resisting the temptation to abandon them. That was an audience from May 15th, 2025. It's very clear what the church teaches. In fact, St. John Paul II has an even stronger quote, right? Has an even stronger quote that I'm going to pull up right here. It's on Wagner's account. Let's see here. Come on, where is this? John Paul II. It's on abortion. Bro, why is... I swear the Twitter search function is like the worst thing in the entire world. It's just terrible, dude. Let's see here. I think it's on my Telegram actually. I found it. Dude. That's crazy. It is the... Let me pull this up. Okay, let me pull this up. Hold up. Sorry, gang. I remembered it while we were streaming, so I didn't have it like readily available on me. But now we do. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Let me pull this up. Here we go. That's crazy. I just found the quote. I mean, honestly, like this quote I'm about to read, if you said to one of these like guys, like, oh, what do you think of this quote that I just said, right? What do you think of this quote that I just said? I do think that they would literally say, oh, that's like some 14 words type stuff. That must be like the 14 words. That can't be said by a pope. That can't be said by by the church or what have you. But this address was an apostolic address that St. John Paul II had. And here's what he has to say. And this is crazy. I mean, this is literally like race realism. A presupposition of a nation's rights is certainly its right to exist. Therefore, no one, neither a state nor another nation nor an international organization, is ever justified in asserting that an individual nation is not worthy of existence. This fundamental right to exist does not necessarily call for sovereignty as a state, since various forms of juridical aggregation between different nations are possible, as, for example, in federal states and confederations, or in states characterized by broad regional autonomies. There can be historical circumstances in which aggregations different from single state sovereignty can even prove advisable, but only on condition that this takes place in a climate of true freedom, guaranteed by the exercise of the self-determination of the peoples concerned. Its right to exist naturally implies that every nation also enjoys the right of its own language and culture, through which a people expresses and promotes that which what I call its fundamental spiritual sovereignty. History shows that in extreme circumstances, such as those which occurred in the land I was born, Poland, it is precisely its culture that enables a nation to survive the loss of political and economic independence. Every nation, therefore, also has a right to shape its life according to its own traditions, excluding, of course, every abuse of basic human rights, and particularly the oppression of minorities. Every nation has a right to build its future by providing an appropriate education for the younger generation. Dude, I mean, like, and I was trying to see if there was like another, if there was another quote that was kind of like, pertaining to this theme here. That's fine. I think we got the main meat of it. But do you see what I'm saying here? Do you see kind of what I'm getting at with these people? They just hear immigration and they instantly think, well, no, you can never have your own nation. You can never have your own race, your own people, your own distinct identity. You just need to let in millions of immigrants and millions of migrants, let them take over the country, let them just absolutely rape the country and make it completely different. And that's not what the church teaches. Race is a fundamental value of the human family. It's a fundamental value of the human family, and anything that harms that value is contrary to the will of God. Someone referenced it in chat. Pope Pius XI literally teaches that in Mitbrenner Sorge. By the way, the document that was condemning the excesses of the Nazis. So if this guy wants to retort with, but the Nazis though, well, congratulations. The same document that condemns their excesses also literally says what I just stated. Race is a fundamental value of the human family. If you negate that, you are sinning against God's will and you are sinning against Catholic teaching. This guy is sinning right now. So if he is Catholic, he is in a state of mortal sin by affirming error.
United States of America, the country we're talking about, to accept refugees, who anyone familiar with history knows included a great many Jewish refugees, because, and this is from the church, the natural law itself, no less than devotion to humanity, urges the ways of a large number of people. Well, I just played you the video of Nick Fuentes himself saying people shouldn't be denied entry based on any consideration of their moral character, but simply on the color of their skin. And for the wealth of the United States, Nick Fuentes said just a couple days ago from when I'm recording this that we should ignore the economic impact of deportations, even enough forbidden by the opposite viewpoint. In case Fuentes' loyalty, except in a Twitter space, the debate got onto the subject.
Yeah, why is it bad to ignore but the economy though? I care about the economy serves people. We have fundamentally forgotten that. The economy serves people, we don't serve the economy. So if the economy gets damaged because we have deportations and we say, actually, we're not allowing any more immigrants here anymore. Cool. I don't care. We could go through the worst recession we've ever experienced, and I do not care. I want America to be America. I want my country to be what it has always been. And if that means that the economy has to suffer, so frickin' be it, dude. I don't care.
Of whether Fuentes' proposed Catholic theocracy lined up with America's foundation as a constitutional republic. Here's the clip.
You acknowledge that your point of view is fundamentally anti-American. From the founding fathers, the framers,
100%. Americanism is a heresy in the Catholic Church. You know that if you do fucking anything. But
okay, so why the fuck are you even in this country? Why not go fucking live in Rome, or go fucking live in the Catholic Vatican, or go live in prehistoric, wherever the fuck? Why be in the United States and try to change this into some theocratic regime when that's not fundamentally what the country's about?
We want to make it better. We want to improve it.
You don't want to make it better. You want to destroy the country. Like, you understand. The funny thing is, you are like, as
you're literally
worse than the Jewish invaders that you accuse of trying to destroy the country. You are overtly saying that you want to run it as a theocratic regime, that you want religion and God to be the number one thing we answer to and not the Constitution. Yeah, so you're worse.
Now, if you're not familiar with the history,
that is the most fucking stupid thing I've ever heard fall out of Destiny's mouth. That guy says a lot of stupid shit, but honestly, that's got to take the fucking cake. I love when people bring this up. Like James Anderson White, that guy used to always bring this up. And, you know, all these like Protestant anti-Catholic guys always bring this up. Well, you understand America was not found as a Catholic nation. Yeah, dumbass, I do know that. And that's actually why it's a big problem. It is a big problem that America isn't Catholic. That's why we have to convert America. People tend to think that America first means I just like whatever has happened within this nation at any point in time, or that I have to just worship the founding. That's not what America first means. America first means doing what is best for this nation, what is spiritually best for this nation. That is the highest, greatest good we can do for America. Catholicism is the true faith. It is the true religion founded by God. That means that the spiritual best of America means making it Catholic. I don't have any particular reverence for the founding fathers. If the founding documents and the founding fathers can aid us in that mission, great. I'm not going to throw them out. I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. But when you have these fucking idiots like Destiny always bringing up, but the Constitution, but the way that this nation was founded, do I care? Rome was a pagan nation. Rome was not even a pagan nation, a pagan empire. Could you imagine like Roman pagans being like, dude, you're trying to make Rome Catholic? Bro, Rome's pagan, man. That's the founding of Rome. You can never make it Catholic. And guess what? We run everything now. Our religion is literally in the heart of Rome. That is the capital of our faith now. That's the capital of our faith, Rome. Right? So if we converted an entire empire, what is a small nation like America compared to literally one of the greatest empires on the face of the earth? Nothing. Peanuts. Putting America first means doing what is spiritually best for this country. It doesn't mean worshiping it. It doesn't mean I'm just going to like glaze it and just everything that ever happened in our history is awesome and I need to celebrate it. No, doing what is best for America is converting America. And if that makes me anti-American according to Destiny or according to the Wignats or according to like, you know, the Protestant guys like James Anderson White, so be it. I'm anti-American then. And I say that knowing that I want the ultimate best for America, which is its salvation. I want the salvation of America. I don't want to save what America was. I want to build what America can be. Let me say that one more time. I don't want to save what America was. I want to build what America could be. And America can be a greater nation than even that what she was at her founding. But the only thing that's going to get it there is if we accept and worship God. If we fall at God's feet and we love him and have devotion to him. That's the only thing that's going to make this country great. This country will never be great if we just worship the Constitution, we worship the founding fathers. There are saints. The Constitution might as well be our Bible, and George Washington is like the incarnation of liberty. They're not God. Jesus Christ is God, and I worship Jesus Christ. And any document or history that doesn't serve him, I'm not really that interested in it. So that's a dumbass argument on the part of Destiny. Guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But you know, when you get pressed with like, you know, rape charges or whatever, you tend to not really be thinking with a full can of worms upstairs.
Americanism doesn't mean American nationalism. Americanism was a perceived social and religious divergence from Europe's Catholic Church among American Catholics in the late 1800s. In fact, here's what Pope Leo said. These dangers, viz. At the confounding of license with liberty, the passion for discussing and pouring contempt upon any possible subject, the assumed right that there is now a great 1800s the view was American Catholics were too liberal. But obviously Nick Fuentes' viewpoints are even farther from the Catholic Church. He's got his own heretical Americanism, doesn't he then? So there's obviously a contradiction, one between Catholicism and whatever Nick Fuentes believes. The Catholic Church teaches us that we should be, nice to people. We should be kind to people, especially the needy, and immigrants are, in fact, needy. But there's also an obvious contradiction between Catholicism and...
We should be nice. There's that word again. The religion of nice. There's that word I just love so much, nice. Do you know what nice means? It means absolutely nothing. Nice does not denote any quality. Being kind denotes quality. Being compassionate denotes a certain quality. Being nice is meaningless. Being nice is being acceptable to the cultural standards that you're living under. Sure, in a Catholic society, being nice can mean a lot. We don't live in a Catholic society. We live in a secular atheist society. Or not even atheist, like agnostic, right? We live in a secular, agnostic, liberal society where being nice means like completely accepting every sin there is, every debaucherous, degenerate sin there is, and never speaking out against evil. No, Catholics are called to be kind and compassionate, and part of being kind and compassionate is calling sin for what it is. It's a cancer. And the world doesn't see that as nice. So already, just from that guy using that word, you can completely tell that his conception of Catholicism is it's the religion of the Antichrist. I'm going to be that bold. This guy believes in the religion of the Antichrist. He doesn't believe in Catholicism. Jesus was kind. He was compassionate. Jesus was not nice. Do you think the Pharisees thought that our Lord was nice when he took a whip of cords and he whipped him out of his father's house? Do you think Jesus was considered nice when he said, "As for my enemies, bring them here before me and slaughter them"? Was Jesus nice when he said, "Go and sell your cloak and buy a sword"? No. He was kind. He was compassionate. He was loving the entire time. Our Lord always has been and always will be because he is the incarnation of love. But he was not nice. Nice does not mean anything. Nice is tolerant and tepid, and nice is indifferent. And that's none of what Jesus is, and that's not what the religion that he founded is.
American nationalism isn't there. When it comes to considering the constitutional foundations of America, Fuentes sides with his view of Catholicism instead. But when it comes to the obvious Catholic teaching repeated by Pope after Pope after Pope of treating all human beings, even ethnic minorities, with dignity and love because we are all created by God, well, in that case, Fuentes picks nationalism. Otherwise, he wouldn't support deporting ethnic minorities from their home because his perception of their disloyalty. Does Fuentes ever have to deal with this contradiction? Here's an example. When Jared Taylor called Pope Francis a traitor because he was sympathetic to immigrants, Fuentes said,
It's like, okay, sorry, the Pope isn't a white nationalist. Sorry, the Pope isn't like a Confederate. Like, I'm sorry. And don't get me wrong. I don't agree with the Pope on mass migration, but it does need to be considered that he is speaking for humanity as a whole and not necessarily the United States or even Europe for that matter. He's speaking for humanity as a whole. Now, you may disagree with that as a white person, and I certainly do, but this is a planet with a lot of poor brown people in it. It's just the truth.
So Fuentes himself admits that Catholicism has a more moderate view on immigration than he does, but he still wants to deport citizens, which is an immense contradiction, an immense violation of the moral teachings of the Catholic Church. Based off what Fuentes said in his debate with Destiny, Fuentes is himself a heretic. He's not a good Catholic. So to put it clearly, Nick Fuentes doesn't actually want a Catholic theocracy, because if he did,
you are in no position, motherfucker, to be telling anyone who is a good Catholic and who isn't a good Catholic. Let's get that fucking straight for a moment. Shut your big fat mouth. You are in no position to be throwing that term out. I think we've well established this on this stream already. The 2 hours I've been watching this slop, I think we've already established you are in no position to be talking about who is and isn't Catholic. You don't even know what the Catholic Church teaches, dude. It took a Google search for me to disprove you. It took a literal Google search for me to disprove you.
To treat immigrants and non-white people with love. He's putting what he imagines to be the interest of America above morality, as defined by the Catholic Pope and the religion of Catholicism. Fuentes defined himself as a Catholic nationalist, an American nationalist, and a white nationalist. But these things are in contradiction. Nick Fuentes just picks and chooses between Catholicism and American nationalism to support his true ideological foundation, which is white supremacy. But Fuentes is Hispanic. Obviously, his last name is Fuentes, which he insists on pronouncing Fuentes. I don't know why he does that. His dad is Mexican. Well, according to Fuentes, his dad is half Mexican, but judging from a 23andMe that Nick Fuentes himself showed of himself, the Mexican heritage is pretty resilient. Fuentes is nearly 15% indigenous, which means his dad is probably 30% indigenous at least. So either he is half Mexican and the Mexican half is very Mexican, or maybe Fuentes is lying a little bit. What's my point with all this? Well, Nick Fuentes is LARPing as a Catholic. He's LARPing as an American.
This guy, when we win, there's one of two things. This guy is either like an insecure brown guy. Let's just be blunt. This guy's an insecure brown guy. Like I can hear the shakiness in his voice, the nasally shakiness in his voice. He's not even white. He's probably whiter than you, dude. Let's see a picture of you. Are you white? I don't think you are. And if you are, you literally will be a Goy slave. You will be a Goy slave when we win. Not literally. I'm just kidding around. I'm just joking about that. That's just completely a joke. But like, people like this will hold this. I'm not kidding around about. People like this guy will hold zero political power when we win. I want to make that abundantly clear. When we win, people like this won't have the right to vote. They will have zero political power. This guy, I would not trust this guy to issue my McDonald's order, let alone cast a vote at the ballot box. I do not trust this guy to fulfill my Shake Shack order, to do my DoorDash for me, let alone cast a ballot for who should run this country. People like this will not vote when we're in power.
Patriot, and he's LARPing as a white guy. He's the product of the very thing he is campaigning against, Mexican immigration to America. But for some reason, Hispanic and Italian-American nationalists like Fuentes want to lift the ladder up behind them and spit in the face of their immigrant ancestors who suffered from the same discrimination in their day that Fuentes is marshalling today. He literally sells the anti-Catholic, know-nothing party flag in his store.
Dude.
So if Fuentes wants to deport ethnic minorities with dual loyalties, he should start with himself.
You mean like how when someone super chatted about that and he literally said, we conquered that symbol and that symbol is ours now, bitch? Do you mean that? Do you mean that flag? Yeah, he literally, Nick got super chatted about that flag because, that's historically where the flag's from. And he's like, we conquered that flag. It's ours now. We've adopted it. Protestants lost. How badass is that? We're taking your symbol and it's ours now, buddy. It's ours. Protestants lost, dude. It's our symbol now. Well, the guy who started the Know Nothings wasn't even Protestant. He was Jewish, but it's our symbol now. We own it. You lost. Thanks for playing. That is badass, dude. That is awesome. That is so unbelievably goated. This guy is just sad because I'm sure his girlfriend, his Discord girlfriend, probably gets conquered. Unlike us conquering symbols, his girlfriend probably gets conquered by like black men every other night. So I think that's where a little bit of the frustration comes from. I would be pretty upset too if I had to sit in the Hilton cuck seat and watch my girlfriend get conquered by her boyfriend, right? His wife's boyfriend gets to conquer his girl every single night. So I think he's just a little bit jealous because of that. I totally understand, have complete compassion on this guy, man. That's tough.
But it is, of course, not enough to show that Nick Fuentes' views are hypocritical and contradictory. We have to also show why they are incorrect on their own. Let's start with Nick Fuentes' most controversial belief, the one that everybody cares about, which is the idea that Jewish people control America. Now, I'm kind of wary to play Nick Fuentes' clips about this issue, otherwise this video might get shut down.
I have a question for you guys. Just a quick poll in chat. Do you want me to try and debunk this half of the video, or should we just go to the Archad stuff? Because I feel like the Archad stuff's kind of more important and stuff like that. We kind of know Jews run everything. This guy's not going to pull up anything that's going to be like, whoa, I never knew that, right? It's going to be like, well, Jews run everything. Why is there this non-Jewish guy as the head of a company? That's literally always the argument, right? So either I can go to Archad's videos and we can start talking about his content, or I can react to the rest of this. Just let me know what you guys want to do in chat. Chat stuff, we know it already. Finish the video? Okay, I'll finish the video.
But I'll just show some titles of his videos and you can get the sense of what he believes. Nick Fuentes points out that there are Jewish people in business and media. That is true. He points out that Jewish people lobby politicians. That's true. He points out that Jewish people organize groups, some of which become influential, which is true. To deny the existence of the Anti-Defamation League or the World Jewish Congress would be insane. So what's the issue? Well, all of this applies to all sorts of other interest groups. Nick Fuentes says multiple times that his beef with Jewish people is their supposed dual loyalty to Israel, which he treats as the Jewish mothership. So let's look at lobbying for Israel, including both foreign lobbying and domestic lobbying from American supporters of Israel. If you look at the data from trackapac.com, which is staunchly anti-Israel, you get more than $250 million spent in the 2023 to 2024 election cycle. That doesn't just include AIPAC, but other pro-Israel lobbying organizations in America, including the Republican Jewish Coalition and Miriam Adelson's Preserve America PAC. Now that is obviously a lot of money, but in the 2024 election, candidates raised nearly $2 billion. Actually, scratch that. That's only presidential candidates. According to the FEC, congressional candidates collected another $3.8 billion on top of that. Political parties received $2.7 billion, political action committees raised $15.7 billion, and independent expenditures totaled $4.4 billion. There might be some risk of double counting, so let's do a conservative estimate of more than $20 billion spent in the 2023 to 2024 election cycle. Now, $250 million to support Israel is a lot of money, but that's about 1% of the money spent in the 23 to 24 election cycle. Obviously, U.S.
What the fuck is your point? Well, there was a lot of money spent. Okay, yeah, that's how the economy and politics works. So just because it's like a percentage of that suddenly means, well, it's not like it's 50%. And here's the thing. This is the classic tactic that a lot of these guys do to debunk the Jewish hold over America. They'll always do this thing. Oh, there's other interest groups. Oh, well, that's only 1% of this large figure or whatever. That is not smart. That is midwit thinking. Here's the problem with that, okay? Those other interest groups do not hold the level of political Iron Manning that Jews do. Do you know why TikTok got banned? It wasn't because of Chinese spies. It wasn't because, that TikTok is tracking your phone or something. That's not why it got banned. It got banned because of anti-Semitism. That's why they banned the app, dude. And Trump forced it to be sold to somebody else. It got banned because it affected Jews. Why are we involved in every single war that Israel... Well, not even their wars. We just wage war for them. Do you understand that? They did nothing during the Iraq war. Oh, maybe they sent a couple troops. Wow, what did he fucking do, dude? We literally were heading up the front and taking down that country for them. They got us involved in the Iraq war using 9/11, which they did, by the way. If that isn't political control, I don't know what is. Dude, go and literally, I'm not kidding. So this guy is a lefty, but he is good at this topic. Go and watch any GDF video about Israel. It's 5 seconds. Any one of these. Genocide in Gaza, Israel in movies and stuff like that. And it becomes immediately apparent how much of a vestige of control they hold over our entire society. You using the figure of, this is the total amount spent. Yeah, that's like operational costs, even if that's just lobbying or whatever, fine, who cares? It's enough and it's enough control that it does influence our politics. I don't care if it's 1%. They get, Patrick said it in chat, they get everything they want. That 1% still manages to influence 99% of our politics.
Elections are influenced by that $250 million, but specifically because there is no money in the opposite direction. There's no Palestinian lobby, for example. So on the specific issue of U.S. relations with Israel, the pro-Israel lobby in America is very influential. But that's not sufficient to prove that Jewish people rule America because everything else that happens. Let's click through OpenSecrets.org for a minute. In 2023 and 2024 both, the pharmaceutical industry spent nearly $400 million for a total of nearly $800 million. Politicians meanwhile raised $1.8 billion from the securities and investment industry in the 2023 to 2024 cycle. You can look at this yourself. It's not secret information.
Who owns the pharmaceutical? Who owns the pharmaceutical industry? Do we want to get into that conversation? This guy is such a fucking midwit. It's giving me, guys, I am going to get like a stage 4 cancer diagnosis after this stream with how much cancer this guy is giving me. Do you understand Jewish people own the pharmacy industry as well? I love how in him attempting to debunk, no guys, Jews don't run everything. Let me point to a completely Jewish controlled industry that literally dumps millions into American politics. That's crazy. Wow, dude, you debunked us. Congratulations, pal. You really showed us, man. I guess they don't control our politics. The Jewish run pharmaceutical companies, they just pour so much money in that I guess our politics aren't run that way.
On that industry, you can see the specific people. That $1.8 billion includes $200 million from Timothy Mellon alone. You might recognize that name. Mr. Mellon gave another $130 million to the government to pay soldiers during the shutdown, i.e. downfall of the Roman Republic shit. The Mellon dynasty, whose patriarch was the businessman turned booming 20s Secretary of the Treasury, Andrew Mellon, isn't Jewish, by the way, but Scots Irish. Now, obviously $250 million from the pro-Israel lobby is a lot of money. Timothy Mellon alone spent more. Is this enough evidence to say there is a Hibernian conspiracy to puppeteer America from the Irish? I mean, just look at the facts. Irishmen have controlled the Federal Reserve for decades.
The classic, dude, there's Irish people, so that means it's just like when you talk about the Jew. Here's the funny thing. Do all those Irish people get together and, you know, send millions of dollars to the state of Ireland every single year? And do we have a giant Irish lobby that can... Dude, I wish we had an Irish lobby. Could you imagine if this country was run by an Irish lobby instead of a Jewish lobby? It'd be Catholic, dude. That literally would be our dream. That would be our dream right there. We would have an Irish Catholic mafia lobby running this bitch. But we don't, and that's the problem, dude.
Are a substantial portion of U.S. businessmen Irish, but half the presidents were at least partially Irish. If I were some sort of anti-Irish nationalist, maybe I'd blame Presidents Kennedy and Johnson, both with Irish heritage, for the Civil Rights Act and the Immigration Act, both of which Nick Fuentes hates. Let's take a look at the largest single donors of the 2024 election cycle. Wow, who would have guessed? At the top is Elon Musk with nearly $300 million. I wonder if that had any influence over whether SpaceX received government contracts, or whether Elon Musk had a...
You mean Elon Musk that talks about going to Hebrew school and then also supports the state of Israel and then is also completely supportive of Jews and often speaks out against anti-Semitism and supports the H-1B program that they also support? You mean that Elon Musk? Timothy Mellon. Let's look up Timothy Mellon's views on Israel real quick. I know he's not Jewish, but... Timothy Mellon. I swear we're going to find something, dude. It's going to be crazy. No, I do not want to pay for The Guardian, dude. Timothy Mellon is clean. You won't find anything. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. That's fair. I didn't know if he supported Israel or something like that. I was waiting for him to like give a like they're our greatest ally and that's why we need to send him millions of dollars. I knew he wasn't Jewish, but I didn't know but like in Elon Musk's case, right? Like Elon is completely bought and sold by the Jews, right? He's completely bought and sold by the Jews. So it's like, okay, your best is a Shabbos goy, bro. So what are we disproving here? Like, there's goys that support Israel and support the interests of Jews. Wow, you really debunked us, man.
Literal position in the White House. Musk isn't Jewish, by the way. Then we have Timothy Mellon, we talked about him, but after him is Miriam Adelson, who is in fact Israeli-American. But then we have the Uline duo with nearly the same amount, and you haven't heard of them, have you? They're sure as hell not Jewish, by the way, since the Uline patriarch, Edgar, was on the National Finance Committee of the John Birch Society, a conspiracy-brained arch-conservative group from the 1960s that didn't really like Jewish people very much. Rather than saying Jews control America, as Nick Fuentes says, it makes much more sense after looking at the actual data to say that billionaires have massive influence over politicians, and some of those billionaires are Jewish. Now, the reason Nick Fuentes focuses on Jewish influence is because he...
Billionaires with Jewish last names. So that's the new angle we're running. First, we had what was it? Wasn't it like it was Tucker who he's like, oh, it's all these companies, right? It's the companies running everything. And then now we have Steven Crowder saying it's secular humanists with Jewish last names. Now we have it's billionaires with Jewish last names. So, when there's Jews around, no, it's just always that it just happens to end up that way by circumstance. This tiny population, it's like 3% of the entire United States that just exercises massive influence and is predominantly overrepresented like every industry that exercises influence on the consciousness of American people. No, they just happen to have Jewish last names, man.
Jewish people are disloyal to America. Let's address that claim. If we go to the Pew Research Center, we can find...
They are.
Data from February 2024 that breaks up U.S. support and opposition to Israel with the demographics of the respondents. If you listen to Nick Fuentes, you might assume that nearly all Jewish Americans strongly supported providing military aid to Israel during its campaign against Hamas in Gaza. Actually, the number was 56% strongly support. And there was another 18% somewhat in favor for a total of 74%. Now that's a big percentage, but let's look at white evangelical Protestants, 38% strongly support, and another 23% somewhat favor for a total of 61%. That means Jewish people only support a Jewish state 13% more than white evangelical Protestants.
It's only 13% more. Remember, the white evangelical Protestants that, by the way, Israel literally pays their churches to brainwash them. By the way, there's an entire lobbying industry that pays their pastors and pays their churches to literally brainwash them. Well, it's only 13% less than the Jewish community in America. What a fucking joke, man. This is like so bad.
Conservatives. Now, that's, of course, a category that overlaps with evangelicals and America's small Jewish population around 1 to 2%. But in general, 36% of conservatives strongly favor giving Israel military aid, and 24% somewhat favor, for a total of 60%. You see what I'm getting at there? Let's look at Jewish political affiliation in general. If Jewish people were some special class of people who had different interests from the rest of America, then surely we'd see some sort of weird data, right? Around 69% of Jewish people were Democrat or lean Democrat, and 29% Republican or lean Republican in 2024. And the number fluctuates around. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but that's around what it is. That means Jewish Americans are just about as liberal as people unaffiliated with a religion, but they're less liberal than atheist people and agnostic people, and they're also less liberal than black Protestants. But here's one additional factor we should maybe consider in this equation.
So you're saying that they So you're saying that they support subversive ideas like homosexuality and transgenderism and pornography and mass migration and basically every liberal social value that, Nick and us speak out against. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, you really showed me, pal. You really debunked me, dude. Honestly, what's this guy's name? What, why, how? What, why, how won, bro? He just showed that we're stupid chuds that just, we sit in our parents' basements all day and we just don't know any better. We just don't know any better. His big Reddit gold brain just has completely debunked all of us, dude. Listen, I kneel, bro. He won. He definitely did not prove us completely right in every way, shape, and form. No, he debunked us, dude. Blew us out of the water.
Voters who live in cities and voters who have college education are more liberal. That's in general for everyone. Let's look at 2020 U.S. Census data interpreted by the Public Religion Research Institution. According to this data, 4 in 10 Jewish Americans live in urban areas. A majority of Jewish Americans, 51%, live in suburban areas, and only 8% live in rural areas. For comparison, only 1/3 of white Christians, 33%, live in urban areas, 43% live in suburban areas.
Because they know when they get in the rural area, they're gonna find me. They're gonna find this chud. This chud. Number one Reconquista enjoyer. Number one Reconquista enjoyer. They're going to find number one Inquisitional enjoyer here. They know they're going to find some chuds in the rural area. They cannot risk finding the Inquisitional chuds in the, I was about to say suburban, rural area.
24% live in rural areas. That means the percentage of Jewish people who live in rural areas is 1/3 the percentage of white Christians who live in rural areas. Meanwhile, 31% of Jewish people attained a postgraduate degree, while an additional 27% attained just a college degree. That means Jewish Americans are the most educated religious group in America, besides Unitarians and Hindus. For comparison, 13% of white mainline Protestants and 13% of religiously unaffiliated people attained a postgraduate degree. My point with all these numbers is that the political beliefs of Jewish people aren't especially bizarre or unique. Jewish people disproportionately live in urban areas and disproportionately attend college. And both of these factors influence people, including Jewish people, to be more liberal. Jewish Americans, believe it or not, are regular Americans. They're a lot more integrated than Nick Fuentes, who has himself said he is more loyal to his fake version of Catholicism than America. Now, it is true, the data shows this, that Jewish Americans like Israel. I don't think they should, but they do. Italian Americans like Italy. Mayor LaGuardia raised tens of thousands of dollars for fascist Italy during its invasion of Ethiopia, and he was a socialist.
Dude, let's go! Let's go, bro!
We're a lot more hostile to Italy in the 1930s than we are against Israel today. During World War II, the federal government was so worried about Italian-American support from Mussolini that 600,000 Italian-American immigrants had their freedoms restricted, 10,000 Italian-Americans on the West Coast were forced to leave their homes, and thousands were arrested. Meanwhile, Irish Americans like Ireland.
And guess what? Med chads are on top, okay? As an Anglo, I gotta recognize med chads are on top. They're holding it down, bro. Every single time, okay, you look at like European politics and like all the good guys are like, the Portuguese Nick Fuentes, like the guys in like Italy and stuff like that. And it's like, who do we as Anglos have? We've got that like one gay guy who literally like this year, what's his name? Like he literally was going to like gay nightclubs this year. And like, and there was that video of him like doing the dance like this and stuff like that. That's supposed to be our Nick. Get me out of this nightmare, bro. Med chads, please, if you can listen to me, help us. Dude, we need to unite again. The Anglos need a better class of hero, bro. Because we cannot have any more gay nightclub crawlers pretending to be Britain first, Anglo first patriots. Steve Laws. No, not Steve Laws, but that guy's a total homo. Pierce Morgan. Yeah, Hugh Anthony. Oh my goodness, dude. Hugh Anthony literally posted an entire video of him like crashing out on his parents and getting thrown out of his house. Has like the gayest lisp while it's happening. It's like, dude, like I feel bad for him. Like I don't want to be like thrown out of his house, but it's like this kid has got it. Like you do not represent our race, bro. Okay. You are not invited to Agartha. You are not invited. Is Clav? Wait, Tristan, is Clav Anglo, dude? Say it so, man. Please give me some hope. Is Clav Anglo? Let me know in chat because that's gonna not Oliver, bro, not Oliver Anthony. We do not claim Oliver Anthony.
President Joe Biden literally said, stories of this place have become part of my soul while visiting Ireland. Sinn Féin raised millions of dollars from Irish Americans. There's a whole book on Irish Americans' very thorough involvement in the Troubles. And by the way, the Northern Irish were trying to get independence from Britain, an American ally. This isn't to say that we should persecute these ethnic...
Clav is Anglo. Let's fucking go. We're so back, dude. Let's fucking go. That's awesome. We won. We won. Anglos, Irish people, Italian people won. Jews lost. It's just that simple, dude. We won. Literally this guy is just spending the entire time posting like white people W's. He's like, yeah, these white Catholics support other white Catholics. Yeah, based. Awesome. Like he wants to make it this like America, like civic national. Well, I'm donating to any country. Here's the thing. If we were donating to the Vatican, dude, I would have no problem with that. If we were sending funds to His Holiness in Rome, and we were building like new statues and like decking out the Swiss Guard with like the newest, assault rifles and like tactical gear and training them and stuff like that, no objection from me. But we're not. We're supporting a state that hates God. We're supporting a state that hates Jesus Christ and a religion that hates Jesus Christ. And that's the issue. This is the other problem when you strip out the religious element from the JQ. The conflict is not just only a national sovereignty conflict. It is between the cross and the synagogue. The conflict isn't just a national sovereignty thing. It is between the cross and the synagogue. And the problem is that currently we're sending money to the synagogue and we're not supporting the cross. That's kind of the whole issue. So this guy's trying to make it this like, well, here's these other groups of white Catholics donating back to their home country. Yeah, don't care, dude. That's fine. I don't want Jews to donate to their country. I'm sorry. I'm not Jewish. I do not support Judaism. I'm against Judaism. It's literally just that simple. I'm not going to split hairs on this. I am against Judaism. And because that's what they support, I am against them. It is just that simple. Like people who want to do this whole thing about like, well, other people donate to, that's not the issue. The issue is it's between the cross and the synagogue, and I am on the side of the cross and they are on the side of the synagogue. Therefore, that's why we butt heads. It's not just a national sovereignty thing. That is such an unbelievable reduction of the issue.
Groups. I'm an Italian American. I don't want to be persecuted. My point is, Nick Fuentes is applying a double standard on Jewish Americans for having some sense of ethnic identity that he doesn't apply to other groups, like Irish and Italian Americans, because Nick Fuentes is himself Italian, Irish, and Mexican American. So to summarize, Nick Fuentes doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I could keep ranting about this for a while longer, but I want to get this video out in a reasonable time frame. So if you want to hear more, request a video below, and if you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, and consider supporting the channel.
Leave a fat dislike on this video and comment something mean. This guy wants to be nice. Comment something mean. Comment something mean in the comments and leave a fat dislike. Worst waste of my time that I have ever spent time wasting time on. Well, I don't know what I was saying there. I was just making some stuff up. That is the most stupid waste of my time. I mean, this guy's whole debunking is like, well, look, there's other people who are billionaires. Was it ever our contention? Was it ever our claim that there's other people like it's like, no, there's no other people that are billionaires. We never said that. Okay, Saturn, get the fuck out of here, dude. I'm so. If you guys see any pagans in the chat, can you just who's mod? Let me see about modding some people. Yulvex, I trust you, man. You're mod. Seriously, ban. If you see any pagans in this chat, just ban them, dude. Just ban them. I'm so sick of these guys. Honestly, it's between Saturn and the sun. Yeah. Go worship your like wooden dildo outside in the fucking forest, dude. You're a freak. I get so tired. Like pagans do not. Let me just say this right now. Pagans have zero positive claims for why paganism is true. Zero. All their apologetics are anti-Christian slop. It is like Christopher Hitchens reheated and reboiled for a new generation. That's all it is. They don't have any positive apologetical value. I can give an apology for Christianity without ever referencing Protestantism, Islam, Judaism, any other religion. I can give a positive apologetic without even talking about another false religion. They can't. They exist in our shadow. They always love to say how they're like, no, I'm heckin' Hyperborean and stuff like that, and I'm definitely not a gay shield bearer. I definitely don't worship a deity that drank cum. Dude, why are you believing Jewish lies, bro? Yeah, it's only Jewish lies when it says that it's not something that you really want to hear about your own deity. Do you realize that like Thor what was this story? Someone refresh my memory. Didn't Thor like cross dress or something and then literally have sex with a horse? That's the white man's religion. Cross dressing, having sex with a horse. Yeah, fuck paganism, dude. Any pagan, I have no desire to talk to you. You are clearly not serious enough about anything to sit down and have an adult conversation. Sorry, I'm sorry. The big kids are talking right now. Go worship your like wooden dildo out in the like countryside or whatever frickin' trailer park you live in, right? Go worship your cum drinking deity and leave us well alone. We're actually trying to be adults over here. Let's see here. Now we're on to our chat. Yeah, that video was such a waste of time. I mean, it wasn't a waste of time to respond. We did have a lot of valuable response, but like, that's just the most like stupid segment that I have ever seen produced in a video. None of his criticisms were salient. He just throws out like the whole heretic thing and whatever without any sort of actual qualification. It's someone who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. So we're going to react to a couple of these videos. Kind of get a good I thought I heard an animal for a moment. That was kind of freaking me out. I thought I heard an animal outside. I was like, damn, what is going on, bro? What's his most watched video? He has some really good ones. Gen Z archetype is important. We are not watching the fetish art one. I know you guys saw that on the right. We're not watching that one. Don't worry. I did not need to see big Sonic feet. Okay, I did not need to see Sonic Vor, Sonic Vor Mario XXX. That's not on the cutting board tonight. Let's see here. Hey Sanctus, what's up, buddy? It's good to see you, man. Oh, we'll slow this down. This doesn't need to be.
There are two types of Zoomers. Those who are preparing for the future and those who are scared of it. This is why Gen Z is some of the most hardworking people, as well as some of the most broken. But it gets more complicated than that. Google Gen Z trends right now, and you'll find countless marketing websites trying to dissect us, trying to understand us. Barbiecore, Y2...
Oh, also, let me mod Sanctus. He is now a mod in chat. I love that guy.
UK girlies, sustainable fashion, health and fitness. But they don't understand us. They'll never understand us. Why? Because Gen Z is fluid like f***ing water. You don't see Gen Z. You don't observe Gen Z like an animal in the wild. You experience Gen Z. You get in the f***ing goo with Gen Z. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram Reels. That's where it's all happening, man. And that's why you need me. Because I'm going to break down Gen Z. And I'm going to break down the Gen Z archetypes plain and simple style. Listen up, LinkedIn marketing analyst, SEO masters, because I'm about to crack the f***ing code. You see, Gen Z is preparing for war. There are no houses, white picket fences, or sustainable incomes in our future. There is only change. And what Gen Z wants is adaptability, to become hard to kill, so we can face the changes coming our way and not crumble under the pressure. This brings us to our first archetype. Schizo lifter. This guy really wants answers. Like, he knows there's something wrong, but he just hasn't figured out what's wrong yet. All he knows is that if he goes to the gym, his life will probably improve, but his skepticism haunts him, and his yearn for answers is completely detrimental to his social life. He's in the gym 20 hours a week, just thinking, Putin's bad. No, wait, that's what they want you to think. Putin's actually good. Israel's good? No, Israel's bad now. Switch it up on you. That's what they want you to think. I gotta delete my social media. It's a Matrix attack. The Matrix is after me. Know what I'm capable of. They know what I could do. And now they know. Now, the schizo lifter is a transitory position. There's 3 ways out of being a schizo lifter. The first is homelessness, but that's a millennial problem. You don't have to worry about that till you're like in your 30s. The second is religious. Gen Z has grown to love religion, and here's why. You have the pre-boomer generations, GI, silent generation, and they knew why they were religious. They understood the parables in the Bible. They understood why they feared God, and they passed that down onto their boomer children. The boomers don't know why they're religious. They don't really have a grasp on like the depth of it. They just do it because it's what you do. You go to church, you believe in God, that's life. And the boomers trying to pass religion on to Gen X and millennials. What? I'm just supposed to believe in Sky Daddy? The 42-year-old Reddit atheist types alone in his apartment with no kids or no wife or no savings or no hope for the future. And then you have Gen Z. Most of us were raised with zero religious influence. We never went to church. You never were religious the way other generations were religious. As we age into early adulthood and we look at the 30-somethings, the 40-somethings with literally no meaning in their life, we think to ourselves, maybe religion was important. Our issue is that we're just figuring this out and we're really clawing at it. I'm not saying you have to be a Bible thumper to be happy. Gen Z tries on new religions like it's an outfit. Islam, Tradcath, Presbyterian. But remember, I said 3 ways out of schizo lifter. The 3rd way out is hustler. This person chose money instead of God. And although they'll probably be more successful than you, they'll also definitely be sadder. Capital accumulation is like the default class you start out with when you're born. You were raised to be good at producing and accumulating money. This is a major shift from most of history when you were raised to be useful for society. You were taught to trade or to farm or to occupy a position in society that's needed. Now it's like, well, if I take these classes in high school, I get this degree and I get this post-secondary degree, I can become an SEO analyst for an overvalued tech company and make $190K a year. This is what humans were meant to do. This is what life is all about. I was put on earth to be an SEO analyst. I just figured it out. I finally figured it out, guys. Hey, look, I don't hate money. I love capital accumulation as much as the next guy. That's why you can buy this mug on my website, powerchat.shop, the I will never kill myself mug, to let people know that you're not going to kill your security at this point. You're blackballed on cybersecurity. You know that 40 or 50 companies.
So, I mean, he does dissect that archetype pretty well. You know, there is this kind of like gym stoicism, I notice, where people have embraced this idea of, you know, if you just throw around heavy weights, everything will work out. And there is merit to the idea that, yes, working out does make you feel a lot better. It does manage to make your life not only better from a health standpoint, not just better from how you look, but also, you know, from a mental health thing, and kind of giving you another thing that gives you kind of a not a purpose, but a sort of like intentional goal. An intentional goal that you follow in your life, right? There's merit. There's a bit of merit to it, but here's the thing: the gym is a means to an end, and it's not an end within itself. And a lot of people, and this kind of goes back to the whole gym bro thing, but a lot of people treat the gym like it's an end onto itself. The gym suddenly no longer becomes, it's something, place that you go to kind of better your body, regulate your mind, and get your life in check from a physical and even maybe an emotional well-being standpoint, mental well-being standpoint. It becomes almost like a religion. Like, you can find yourself in the gym, like the constant like working yourself to become a better version of yourself becomes a pursuit in of itself. But here's the problem, right? The entire issue with gym stoicism is that it's Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill. Because there's no real meaning with just going to the gym. When you just go to the gym and you just keep going to the gym and you just keep working out, yes, you'll get stronger and stronger and stronger. But when you realize that eventually it just kind of tapers out, you reach a point where it's like you're going to be as cut as you will ever be because of your biology. You're going to just have that kind of muscularity because of the way you were born. It almost becomes the same kind of mindset that like transgender people adopt, where it's never enough. So suddenly you go from like doing gym to then like, I need plastic surgery. I need to break my jaw. I need to get like lip filler or injections, or I need to do these crazy diets and these crazy health fads that like will get me just that much closer. And you're doing all this work and all this work and all this work. You have to ask yourself, for what purpose? Why do you want to be the best? What does the end look like for you? And you might offer some platitude about like, it's just all about the struggle, man. It's all about the pursuit. That's great on a bumper sticker, but that doesn't amount to any meaning. Everything in this life has an end. Everything in this life has an end that we are trying to reach. It can be a good it can be a good end, it can be a bad end, but it is an end. And with the gym culture, with gym stoicism, you may very well say, well, the end is looking good and being at my physical peak. That's great. For what purpose? What do you do when you get there? Why do you want to get there? Right? And when you reach that point, when you reach that end, you have to ask yourself, why am I here? Why did I get here? There is nothing eternal about the gym. Don't get me wrong. I see old guys who are very like, buff and built and stuff like that. It can happen. There's 100-year-olds that can still run a marathon like nobody's business, like they're 28. But as you get older, your physical fitness will decline. You won't be able to lift as much as you once did. It's not because you didn't try hard enough. It's just biology. It's just the passage of time. And there will be a cap to how good you can get yourself. Why do you want to be the best? For what purpose? Because just saying that the best is the purpose is not enough. It's not going to satiate your heart. And I see a lot of these young guys, and don't get me wrong, man. I admire their prowess. I admire the fact that they are building themselves up. They're disciplined. That's very good. There's a lot of admirable qualities in that. But when the gym basically becomes your religion, there's no why to it. Stoicism, Awelf said it in chat. Stoicism becomes like a good life practice. Like it becomes like a good way of like handling trauma, handling traumatic experiences, dealing with like the difficulties in life or what have you. That's why a lot of these guys adopt it. They've been burnt by the internet. They've been burnt by girls. They've been burnt by a society that hates them and wants them dead. And so it's easy to adopt a mindset that kind of lets all those things run off your back like water. But the one thing Stoicism is missing is a why. Why should you let these things roll off your back like water? What is the ultimate purpose for your life? Why do you exist? Why do you live? Why do you breathe? Why will you die one day? And gym stoicism, because stoicism itself could never answer this, gym stoicism will never answer that question. And so it's an archetype for a very lost man. Don't get me wrong. He's doing great in terms of the physical fitness aspect. He's doing wonderful in terms of taking care of himself, but he is still lost. He hasn't escaped the cave. There's still a veil of darkness over his eyes. And the gym isn't going to help you find that. The gym can do a lot of things. Go to the gym. Take care of yourself. Eat right and work out. But it's not going to be the thing that allows you to find what you've always been searching.
Have your data and you just don't care. You're like, who am I? What am I going to do? Why am I important? It doesn't matter if they have my data. I have nothing to hide. And you're screwed by encrypting in the chart. There's
Okay, that's an ad.
guarantee and says money can't buy you happiness. But Gen Z, for some reason, thinks they're the only exception to this rule. But what if you don't lift? You don't care about money and you're not religious. What happens to you then? That makes you the cope lord. This person is f***ed. Every thought they have, every action they do is to shield themselves from the idea that they're going to die someday. They love shows, movies, video games. They're really particular about their favorite foods, their favorite music, how people perceive them. They probably call themselves an introvert. This person isn't useless. They definitely have a passable job. From the outside, a cope lord might even appear like a hustler because they have no friends and they're always working. But that's because that's the path of least resistance for them. They'll never take risks, never speak up for themselves, and never truly feel happy. But hey, at least the new Star Wars movie's coming out. The NPC. I hate the NPC meme because it's an ego-bloating us versus them code. The only reason the NPC...
But yeah, I mean, just to comment on that archetype before we get in the NPC, I guess the cope lord's like kind of a funny term to use. I would just say it's someone like... It's Goyim. No, I'm kidding. It's somebody who is really a hedonist. I mean, to use kind of a more poetic term, it's just a hedonist. It's somebody who thinks that rather than engaging with the difficult questions in life, that pleasure is going to give them or soothe them in what they need, right? If I can soothe myself with pleasure, if I can soothe myself with hedonistic delights, I don't have to then pursue truth. I don't have to then ask the difficult questions. I can, basically merely just be and exist, right? And that's no way to live. If you can merely just be and exist, to some extent, you're going to start engaging in gluttony and you're going to start engaging in indulgence. And any vice that you partake in is going to become your religion. It's going to become the thing that you serve. I mean, this is like the guys who spend like thousands of dollars on like real dolls, or, the 30-year-olds that it's like they're going all out for the, Disney trips, and, they treat, going to like Buc-ee's and getting like sugar-laden desserts like it's like they just visited Mecca, like they just visited the Vatican, like Buc-ee's is their Vatican, right? It's their Mecca. That becomes their religion. Man was made to worship. It's just a question of what he worships. And you can either worship God or you can worship the world. And the hedonist, it's like their world is just these pleasures. But the thing about it is, because these pleasures are so empty and they really can't fulfill what your heart desires, you want more of it. People who like eat themselves to death or like, just don't take care of themselves or goon all day or what have you. It's like what they're trying to find is a satiation in that, to be satiated in that, when that thing will never offer them peace. It'll never offer them stasis. It'll always just be this endless pursuit. And it'll be this, again, to use the Greek tragedy, Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill. That's what all of these things are. When you don't have God, you just become Sisyphus. Sisyphus is the perfect analogy, and it'll probably come up with these other archetypes, but Sisyphus is the perfect analogy for the man without God. You try to find God in other things that will never give you God. So, you'll have a completely unhealthy diet, you'll completely mess up your diet, or you'll sleep around with every single girl, or you'll, pursue the bag and try to like make a bunch of businesses and money, or you'll try to, build kind of maybe a political empire. You'll, maybe focus on a hobby, even if it's something that's not necessarily negative, like building a business or focusing on a hobby. Your obsession with it is what becomes unhealthy. And when those people can't have the satisfaction of feeling content with that thing that they're pursuing, they start to blame other people and they start to blame everything around them. It's kind of like those movies you see where there's the like very successful like lawyer or entrepreneur, and he gives some monologue about how he has to win. Winning for him is not a thing that he gets to enjoy as a result of working very hard, getting to enjoy the fruits of his labor. Winning for him is his existence, because without it, he's meaningless. And that's a very sad life. You should have ambition. And it's okay to say that even that you want to win. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing unholy about that. But if you're willing to do all of that at the cost of your soul, that's when something becomes wrong. And so whether you're pursuing hedonism or you're pursuing something that's otherwise very healthy, like working out or like, building businesses, it's still overall a corrupted orientation for what you were made for, which is to be with God, dude. That's what that's what all of us are made for at the end of the day. That's what our chat is made for. That's what you watching right now, that's what you're made for, dude. You're made to be with God. And those things, maybe you are already Catholic and, I should make an entire video on this, but being real for a moment, because I know we see it a lot online. I think a lot of people convert and they instantly think that, when we talk about what it's like to walk with God or whatever, that their life is just instantly going to be perfect. And then when it's not, they almost ask, did God abandon me? Is Catholicism the true path? Did I get it right? Did I do it wrong? Does God hate me? I'm here to tell you that if you think that you're going to convert and you're going to, go to that Easter vigil or you're going to go to that confirmation mass, and the moment the waters of baptism, the moment the chrism oil runs off your head, you're going to be free from flaws, free from sadness, free from all pain. I'm here to tell you that's not true. It's a struggle. And I think a lot of people think that, when we talk about the meaning that God gives your life, that it's almost instantly acquired. It's instant gratification. Oh, if you just instantly convert tomorrow and you buy all these books that I recommend you and you watch the cool based tradcast or whatever, your life is going to be perfect. And then when it's not, you're disappointed, you're sad, you're broken, and you ask, is this all a lie? I'm here to tell you that it's not. God is no lie. God isn't a lie, and pursuing God isn't a lie. He is the ultimate truth. But until you reach heaven, this life is going to be hard. If anyone tells you that your life becomes easier by becoming Catholic, or that your life will be free from pain, or that everything will be on easy street forever, I'm sure their heart is completely in the right place. They are completely mistaken. If you want to share and partake in the resurrection, you must be a part of the crucifixion. And this life is that crucifixion. This life that we live, it's that crucifixion. And the reason I bring this up is because, I talk to a lot of people all the time that, they convert, they have kind of the convert zeal leading up to their confirmation. Confirmation happens, they still got that zeal, and then the honeymoon phase starts to wane off, and they say, Connor, I'm still struggling with like all these sins. I'm still, finding it hard to do the things that I need to do. I'm still tempted all the time. I'm still struggling with doubt. I'm still struggling with all these things that are afflicting me. Did I do everything wrong? Someone actually just took the words out of my mouth. Captain in chat. Being Catholic is hard because you become aware. I will be honest with you guys. My life was very, 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 very easy before I converted. It was extremely easy. I didn't have to answer to anybody but myself. I was my beginning, my middle, my end. When I lived my life that way, even though I believed in God and even though I said I was an Anglican and I was Christian, functionally I was my own God. I could interpret the Bible the way I wanted to interpret it. If I sinned, that's fine. I feel maybe kind of bad for it, but it's not a big deal. God loves me. And I became an island. I was miserable every step of the way. I was completely miserable. And I wasn't miserable because I was just afflicted with hardships or that I was a sinner or what have you. There was that misery there. But I was miserable because I realized I really had no meaning. I think intuitively, all of us realize when we're in that position before we become Catholic, there really is no meaning to our lives, even if we self-identify as Christian. In that existence, you answer to yourself. You are your own God. You make your own religion. Even if you have the Bible, even if you have some ecclesial community you answer to or whatever, or you're like, I talk with my pastor or something like that. That's all fine and well. You are not a part of Christ's body. You're not a part of his mystical body. And so you do not experience the walk to Golgotha and the resurrection after that he experiences. And so because of that, your life is very, very, very easy. And it's completely meaningless. And you still feel this ache in your heart. You still feel this longing in your heart, and you can't quite express what it is. Oh, maybe Pastor Bobby's preaching kind of sucks. Maybe I got to go to a new Protestant church, one that's more based. This Orthodox parish, well, it's Armenian Orthodox, and I should really be going to a Russian Orthodox because they're the base trad guys, right? I need to be go and hang out where the base trad guys are. And you keep doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this, and yet you just at the end of the day still feel empty. Your life might be very easy, but it's meaningless. And when I became Catholic, it was very difficult for me to take a good long look at myself and realize, wow, I'm not actually the good person that I thought I was. I'm not a good person. I'm a broken sinner. And yet God loves me. And God loved me enough to call me out of that so that I could be with him. I want you guys to realize that for a moment. This world is kind of like an ocean, right? It's actually like the Great Flood that Noah lived in. And when the flood came, everything was washed away. Most of us our entire lives, I talk about the analogy of the cave that Plato gives all the time, right? Where you're living in the cave and you're watching the shadows on the wall and you're entertained by the shadows. But in many ways, I think the flood is a better analogy. your head is below the water and you're drowning. You don't realize that you're drowning at all. That's the crazy part about it. Your head is below the water, but you don't realize you're drowning because it's dark down there. There's no light. And yet, when you become Catholic, God loved you so much that, like Peter walking on the water, saying, "Lord, I'm drowning," he grabs your arm and he pulls you out and he pulls you onto the ark and says, "You have so little faith. I've always got you." I just said that being Catholic is not easy. Anyone who tells you that it is, I'm sure, very well intentioned and says it with nothing but goodness in their heart. But that's a lie. It's not easy to be Catholic. It's very, very hard, actually. And I'm not good at it. And I know many of you don't feel good at it either. But Catholicism is something more than easy. It's true. And even sometimes when it's hard to live truth, even when sometimes seeing that sun for the first time hurts our eyes, we're healed by its rays. We're enlivened by it. We're given a new breath and a new spirit and a new life we never thought we could have. And it's hard walking that path. But Jesus is with you the full way. All of these people that Art Chad's covering, it's like they think that they have the path. They think that they have the way. They think, Lao Tzu called it the Tao, right? The way. They think that they have the way. But the only way is to the cross. And the promise that the cross holds after is the resurrection. And it is a painful, agonizing walk. But the glory thereafter, and the light thereafter, and the love thereafter, not only will make you realize that it was all worth it, but it will wipe away every tear. It'll carry away every sorrow, and it will carry away every single pain. And you will be reconciled to something greater than you could have ever imagined. And that's what it means to be Christian. And so we'll keep watching, keep going through the archetypes. But that's fundamentally the problem here, is that they just keep walking a path that only leads uphill and downhill. The boulder. They will keep pushing the boulder until they are able to understand that the only hill that they can walk up that has an end is Golgotha. But that end promises you everything. The stone cannot. It's only a rock. But that cross, that has everything. And that's what's meaningful. Hamilton Network said something very important in chat. He says, "I thought I was a good Christian until I read about the saints. Then it made me realize how much of a piece of crap I am." Also, he is one of my great friends, so I'm going to mod him. Here's the thing, man. Nobody who is ever a saint thought that they were a good guy. It's kind of funny because it's like, you almost ask yourself this question. It's like, when they were alive, did they know that they were saints? Did St. Augustine know that he was a saint? Did St. Cyprian or Cornelius or Catherine or Therese, did they know that they were saints? And the answer is no. All of them thought that they were the most little insignificant sinners of all. These doctors of the church, these princes of the church, these women whose souls magnified the Lord, These men who burned with a heart and ardor for God. Every single one of them thought that they were worthless pieces of crap. And many of them, we tend to forget, lived pretty horrible lives. They lived pretty awful lives. I've told his story before, his icon's on my wall, and he is a saint that I will always, for the rest of my life, really cherish his story. Because it makes me realize that it's never too late. But St. Andrew Wooters, man. You know, St. Andrew Wooters gambled, drank, fornicated so much as a priest, mind you, not as even a lay person, but as a priest, fornicated so much that he fostered a lot of illegitimate children outside of marriage, was laicized, and so he lived in shame. And to think, you know, he lived in a Catholic society. What do you think the reaction was of a laicized priest? Do you think he was met with you know, praises and everyone thought he was great? No. To be laicized as a priest meant you had the scarlet letter, dude. You had the scarlet letter. That means you failed. That means you messed up bad. You're not a priest anymore, dude. You must have really have done something to mess up. So here you have this man who, by all intensive purposes, lives his life in reprobation. It's almost like he is speed running his way to hell. It's like he is just speed running his path to hell. He's done pretty much all the sins. And he's denigrated one of the holiest, not one of the holiest office on earth, the priesthood. And one day he's walking along a trail, some road in the Netherlands, right? And a group of Calvinists happen upon him. Well, based on his clothing, they could tell that he was a priest, or at least had been. So they say, very plainly, either you're going to deny the Pope and proclaim yourself to be free of Catholicism, free of the Catholic Church, or we'll kill you. We've made a real simple decision for you. You can either die or say that you're Catholic. And this man who has lived his entire life in sin, his entire life in reprobation, his entire life doing everything that easily someone could look at his life and say, you're not a Christian, dude. You're not a real Christian. You suck. You're awful. You're terrible. You're worse than Judas. I can only think of St. Andrew looking up at them with sullen eyes. Eyes that had history, had seen a lot and done a lot. And in that moment, he says, adulterer I was, heretic never. And for that, they hung him. And he died. Yet this man would go on to be canonized by Blessed Pius IX and be regarded in history as one of the greatest examples of repentance and sainthood that one could ever achieve. Living an entirely sinful life away from God. Accumulating and doing every single sin known to man. Living in such a way that it would make devils seem like angels. And yet when it counted most, when he had to give account for Christ, he answered that call. I will say this to you all, and I never want you to forget this. if you for the rest of your life, love and believe in Jesus Christ and what he taught, he will forgive you and he will save you. I don't mean that as the sin of presumption, because what that means is that if you believe, you will go to confession, you will confess your sins, you will ask for the grace of his pardon. But I promise you with all of my heart and with every fiber of my being, that if you love God, and if you truly want to be with him in heaven, and you stake your entire life on what he teaches and who he is, you will go to heaven. You will be with him in paradise. I stake everything that I am on that claim. At the risk of destroying all of my credibility, I stake everything that I believe and am on that claim. God does love you. And no matter what you've done in this life or what you will do or the mistakes that you will make, you can always come back to him. And so for Hamilton, yeah, you might feel like a piece of crap, man. I guarantee that probably your sins are not worse than mine. But God loves you and God loves me. And despite everything that we do, and despite the ways that we have turned on him and turned against him, he will always forgive you if you want to be forgiven. Because at his core, he loves you. And nothing that you could ever do to him would make him love you any less. You know, it's funny, it's like, and I don't mean to keep going on. I know we need to get on with a video. I love going on these monologues, of course, right? I can be a little bit of a yapper, you know. I'm called sappy, but I can also be yappy sometimes. But the moment of the cross, the moment of the crucifixion, you have to understand that Jesus suffered for every sin that was ever committed, every sin that was being committed, right there as crowds lauded and celebrated him dying. And he suffered for every sin that would be committed. The cross is the axiom of all of human history. No, scratch that, all of history. From the creation of our universe to its end, the cross stands at the center point in the axiom of all of that history. And so that means that if Jesus suffered for every sin that would ever be committed, he knew the ways that you would betray him. He knew the ways that you and I would fail to live up to him and live up to his word. And yet he still willingly allowed himself to be humiliated and shamed upon that cross for our sake, and to die on that cross for our sake. And so I'm serious, man. It does not matter what sin that you committed. Sin is serious. I'm not saying that sin doesn't matter. It does. But no matter what sin that you have ever committed, God can and will forgive you if you just let him forgive you. I remember Father Herbert McCabe, I think I referenced this last time, but he had this very beautiful quote that I've thought about a lot. You know, confession isn't even necessarily asking God for forgiveness. It's rather acknowledging that we've already been forgiven. It's allowing us to experience the forgiveness that he has already given us, with his precious blood being shed upon the cross. And so it's important to remember that when you go to confession. It's not, God is not an angry bearded man in the sky with a lightning bolt at the hilt ready to strike you down. You know, you're going to pull up to church, and then, 5 minutes later, you're going to be a toaster strudel, right? You're going to be a Pop-Tart just freshly out of the toaster. No, it's not who God is. God is a loving, tender Father. He's already given you his forgiveness, but you have to acknowledge that forgiveness that he's given you, and you have to let it heal your life. And that's what it means to be forgiven. W Stream, love you, Pines. I've never felt closer to Christ till I came across your streams. I appreciate that, Dylan. That means a lot to me, man. You're delivering great. Thank you, man. I appreciate
See
that.
mean exists is because no one talks to each other anymore. The person beside you at the
True!
crosswalk waiting to cross the street with you might as well be an NPC if you don't interact with them. And that's on you, not on them. Everyone you see has a rich life, full of narratives, stories, myths, lessons. It unfolds in front of them. It's always changing. Everybody you see is just as interesting and as deep as you are. But let's be honest, some people just aren't real. I don't know what it is. You talk to some people and they just have nothing to say. They have no hobbies. They don't do anything interesting. 10 years of screen time and risk aversion really destroys the human soul. People probably think you're an NPC and you don't even know it. And the only way to combat this is just be extremely outspoken all the time, even if you're wrong. Just take up space. It's better to be a lunatic than to be forgettable. Train wreck. Okay, this person is sort of like the NPC and
Transphobia? Dude, that's crazy. But anyhow, I don't really like the term NPC. I use the joking terms, Goyim, NPC, and to a certain extent, it's like, yes, I think you can act or even be like that archetype, not in terms of your nature, but just the actions that you're taking on. It's like you can choose to be an NPC. You can literally choose to act like a video game character and live like a video game character. Going to work day in, day out, watching the same sports ball game, never having any deeper thought or what have you. But here's the thing. What we get wrong about saying that someone's an NPC is that they weren't made for that. And they weren't made to be that. And even your most, look, we've all worked office jobs. We all have that boring coworker who, his name's like, Bob or something, it's like some kind of like generic name. And, he's probably like in his 30s to 40s, no real interests, maybe married, maybe not. And it's not that we hate Bob as an archetype, right? But he just doesn't particularly interest us. The thing about it is that even as boring as this, Bob the Builder said, "Hey, my name is Bob." Well, Bob the Builder, you're not uninteresting. I love you, bro. You're the life of the party, actually. But even as boring as that coworker may seem, that person that you interact with may seem, there's still a light and a life to him. There's still a garden that the Lord has planted inside his soul. And maybe that garden hasn't been tilled. Maybe those flowers, those beautiful plants haven't been seeded, but it's there. That soil that God put there is always there, and it can never be destroyed. Even in the most corrupt, I'm talking like G.G. Allen levels of evil, right? Like the most corrupt, depraved individual you can think of. That garden is still there. That garden of the soul. And when we use terms like NPC or and to a certain extent, it's like we can still use that as an archetype. But when we just say that someone's an NPC and we reduce who they are and the totality of who they are, who God made them to be, to this atomized little soundbite, it's like we turn our back on that garden. What could bloom into a rich rose or beautiful daffodil, suddenly we show a level of cold, sort of almost hatred towards, right? A sort of coldness towards, a coldness of the soul. And as we know, it's like nobody can cultivate a beautiful garden in the cold. Plants don't grow during the winter, right? And so if we are cold to that person, we reduce that person. And we say, you're always going to be that way. And there's never going to be a beautiful thought in your head. And there's never going to be anything that magnifies your soul for the Lord. But they were made for that. And you were made for that too. I mean, I see people all the time, sometimes online, they're like, I'm boring. It's like, dude, shut up. You're not boring. I'm gonna big brother you. I'm your big brother, and I'm putting you in a proverbial headlock right now. I'm putting you in a figurative headlock right now, and I'm saying, shut up. You're not boring. You are not boring. You weren't made to be boring, man. You were made special by God. I mean, honestly, it's so silly, but it's like, even when you see that image from VeggieTales, God made you special, that is actually real, though. Every human being is special. We heard the goat say, every human being has something of value to offer, especially, but what was funny about that is, like, even though, there's maybe a little bit of like trolling there with, who was then mentioned, that is true. Every human being does have something of value to offer. And, the NPC is just an easy mental categorization we've used in the mind. But it's not who people are. Maybe people seem boring because they keep things to themselves, or they're quiet, or they're more introspective. I've been surprised sometimes at the level of introspection that people had that I otherwise wrote them off because they didn't say a whole lot. It was like, oh, this person probably doesn't have like anything interesting to say, so they must not be interesting, right? They must not be interesting. They must just be like completely boring or whatever. And then they would give me a present. They would leave me a message. They would make some incisive remark. And I just sat there being almost in awe and thinking to myself, how dare I reduce this person and just say, oh, they're this little thing, this little item, when they've just disproven me right there, when I've just seen God work through their heart. I think that's something of very pertinent value. A lot more of us need to reflect on.
The Cope Lord, but worse in every way. This person spends most of their time thinking about their identity and their feelings. They really think life is about being happy as much as possible. They keep trying to define themselves with interests, subcultures, hair colors. But here's the issue with the ego. It's a centerless pit. You can chase your own identity for...
Okay, wait. Hold on. Not that girl.
Hair colors. But here's the issue.
I think in the background we found evil Kai clips, bro. I'm not talking on Kai, but that femboy or whatever in the back, it's evil Kai clips, dude. It's Kai clips it's Kai clips bizarro alter ego. It's what's Kai backwards? Iac? It's Iac clips, bro. Iac clips is in the background of this video right now. That's crazy. We need to give Kai the sword of Joseph Smith. We need to give him the katana of Joseph Smith, and he needs to smite his evil duo, Iac clips, bro. If he doesn't destroy Iac clips will take over. It's a fight between good and evil, and Kai is the man in the white hat right now. He needs to fight Nega Kai. He needs to fight Dark Kai, or else Iac clips is gonna finally take over, dude. And I don't want to be there for when he does.
With the ego. It's a centerless pit. You can chase your own identity forever and never figure it out. Maybe if you were a character in a book or a movie, you could be quantified. That's why people care so much about identity now. We take in so much fictional media that we think everyone is easily definable. We think everyone has a concrete identity, and there's an issue with us that we don't have a concrete identity. You can't be defined. You're not a character. You're stuck in time. If you're worried about your identity, if you're worried about figuring out who you are to other people, here's my advice to you. Just be useful. No one's coming to save you. No one cares about the music you like, or if you're happy or not. No one gives a f***. Just be useful to other people, or at the very least, don't get in their way. Now, the only thing that could fix this person would be like a world war. That would fix a lot of things, actually. Okay, our next archetype stays with a trend of NPC type people. fried. This person is done. This person is cooked. There's no saving them. They just vape, scroll on their phone, no attention span, no social skills. This person is a victim. Personal agency can only get you so far. But when someone is born and raised in the goo, can you blame them for not knowing they're covered in slime? Think about that. Girl boss. I hate cliches and I don't want to give credence to boomer memes, but this is just a type of person that has never existed before. The girl boss is like the hustler, but more aesthetic. Green juice in the Stanley cup, rubbing the foie gras, the feng shui thing on their face to get the puffiness away, buying lots of stuff and being sad. Like the hustler, the girl boss had the reward center hijacked by the desire to produce capital, and they will forego everything human to do so. No kids, no man. You know, $300K a year in a mid-floor condo sounds nice, until you get diagnosed with chronic illness in your mid-50s, and there's no one around to comfort you as the curtain slowly closes on your life. But hey girls, at least you drove a BMW and owned a funny dog. Femcel, what the
That's so real. That's so real. You know how you fix that, though? That's how you fix that. Hey, you're not going to make those spreadsheets. You're not going to make those spreadsheets anymore. You're going to make me a turkey sandwich. Extra mayo. No, I'm just kidding. I'm playing. I mean, the girl boss really is kind of created from a society that has like essentially forgotten the natural like role of men in leading society. And so it's like women are kind of now aimless in identifying like what their real purpose is and what is traditionally the purpose of a man and a woman, which I think, you know, a lot of guys, you know, because feminism isn't directed towards us, we very easily rediscovered that it's like our purpose is to be like a father and a husband, but I don't mean that like in a gay wife guy kind of way. I just mean like in a way of like, you know, the two become one flesh and create new life as a result, right? We've realized that that's our purpose, but I think for women, it's like they see motherhood or being a wife as like these shackles, right? These shackles that just bind them. It's binding them from doing what? Making spreadsheets and like buying expensive cars. I mean, that's a completely materialist existence, but really what the girl boss taps into is it's sort of the worst quality of sort of the female ego and its vanity, right? It's vanity. Vanity is one of the worst qualities of the female ego, like how men, you know, some of men's worst qualities. I mean, because really what it is it goes back to the garden. You know, Adam, his mistake was that he left Eve to be tempted. He was a coward in the garden. And so he left Eve vulnerable. And when Eve was vulnerable, her vanity was appealed to. You know, eat this and you will become like God. And in that way, Eve wanted to usurp the position, the emptiness that was left by Adam. That's what the girl boss wants. That's what that's ultimately what the girl boss wants. She wants to usurp the position that men otherwise had. And it's not that men become like Patrick Bateman, American Psycho, like womanizers who eat, you know, sushi and wear designer clothing every single day. That's not what I'm talking about. It's that, you know, men become providers and protectors and world builders. And I heard someone put this very eloquently, but, you know, women come to beautify the world that men build. You know, that's why women are homemakers. It's like, you know, the man may build a house, but the woman kind of adds the heart to it, the hearth, so to speak. You know, the man makes the physical structure. He builds the physical structure, and the woman creates a sort of, you know, is the hearth, the fire, the heart of that house. And because of that, it really sort of, I would say, like enlivens both of their lives. But because there has been this gap of men have just been so beaten down by feminism that now there's this like emptiness. These women, these girl bosses feel like they need to step into that emptiness. But ironically, that is a mold that they were never sort of made to fill, right? That was a mold that they were never made to fill. And so their stomach may be full of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, but their heart is empty of God. Their stomach may be full of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, but their heart is empty of God. And that's why these women feel depressed and they get cats and they blame like their parents or society for all their problems. But it's like really their problem is that they aren't living out the beautiful life that God made for them. Gets back to the problem we identified earlier, you know? It's the problem with all these archetypes. It's a loss of meaning.
Pickup artists and what do pickup artists and femcells have in common? Both communities were started in Toronto, the greatest city on earth. That's true, actually. I looked that up. Toronto is like if elf bars were a city. Femcells, like the girl boss, shouldn't exist. The ego is driven by status and anger. This is because both of these things give you identity. Like I mentioned, making money, acquiring status, that's the default class you're born with. But anger is different. Humans like anger because it's easier to define yourself with what you're not rather than what you are. It's easier to define yourself with what you're a victim of rather than what you're grateful for. This is why the ranks of the ideologies on the right and the left are filled with so many lost people. If you've never had concrete purpose in life, some retarded ideology like femcell sounds really attractive to you. And this brings us to our last archetype. Because I want to.
Femcells just also don't exist because, you know, being a female incel, it's like a female incel will still have hundreds of guys that are like willing to date her or marry her, or even at the very least show her the time of day, right? There are guys, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. There's guys that look almost like Clav, right? Like very good looking guys, very sharp looking, takes care of themselves or whatever, who will never be given the time of day. Who have the money, the status, the, you know, jawline, the looks, physiognomy, everything. And they will never be given the time of day. And then there's quote unquote femcell women that they've got like hundreds of suitors lined up, just ready to marry them. It's completely stupid. It totally like truncates the problem that each sex faces, right? Like, there will always be guys willing to pay one of these girls attention. But for guys, right? Again, there's dudes who look like Clav or whatever, you know, guys who almost look like male models. And there will be women that will never pay them the time of day. It's just unbelievable.
On a lighter note, someone we can all make fun of together. 90 IQ Patrick Bateman. This is the type of person that tells you up front they're a psychopath because they like cheated on their partner in high school. This is the person openly reading 48 Laws of Power on the subway. You can watch this person try and manipulate you in real time. This person's body language is so sloppy and calculated. It's like they watched a video on how to be confident 15 minutes ago and now they're trying it out on you. Life is now all about schemes and hacks. No one wants to admit that life is hard and tedious. They'd rather think that they're one life hack away from figuring everything out and becoming God. This is what society asks of us now. There's no time for mistakes. You didn't think the right thought at the right time. Now you're f***ed, you idiot. You lost it. You lost the game. You lost life. Sorry, no second try, no round two, it's over. You're a loser forever. Some 19-year-old is gonna make $1 million off coin and steal your girlfriend. 2023. Now, in conclusion, what do all these archetypes have in common? They're all yearning, searching, craving, yearning for comfort, yearning for purpose, yearning for stability. Everything feels broken and boring. Society is getting tired, and Gen Z is just so ready to move on to the next step. But we just don't know how. Money, God, power, what is life about? What is the answer? Maybe, just maybe, life is about staying in decent shape, staying healthy, having fun with your friends, picking up a useful trade that fulfills you, having 2 to 5 children, a loving partner. Nah. Life is definitely about trad cat hypercapitalism. I love Gen Z. We're the greatest generation.
So that end there, and then I think I'll probably end the stream here because I do need to go eat dinner, but that end there kind of signifies initially like why my post about our Chad was kind of pointed against him a little bit. And I don't say this with attacking him, but this is where my critique comes in. This entire video, he builds up a really good, almost I'd say like diagnosis of Gen Z's problem, which is all of these people are yearning. All of these people are searching. All of these people are trying to find the answer. Right? Every single one's trying to find the answer. And their whole problem is that they can't find the answer. And so they adopt these archetypes, but these archetypes still fail to sort of honestly like get to the root of the heart of the problem that they're experiencing. It's not able to address why their heart is yearning in the first place. Right? And he identifies that very well. But at the end, and this is kind of similar to I think this type of philosophy that our chat has adopted, it just becomes this kind of like generic, almost like, and I'm not using liberal in a pejorative sense. I'm using it in the very like classical sense of the word, like civic virtue. Like there are certain things that our society has to have in order to like properly function. Like citizens need to have some kind of religiosity. Families need to be relatively stable. You can't have high levels of like divorce and promiscuity. Like even many liberal people can kind of identify that, right? But that's the exact problem. It's putting a Band-Aid on everything. It's putting a Band-Aid on a deeper problem, which is people don't feel like they have meaning, ironically, because they don't have God. And he kind of blew past it and he tried to make it like, oh, is it God? Is it money? No, it's just God. That is all it is. Money will be lost. You will lose money. Even if you make millions, you cannot take it to the grave with you. You will die one day and you will not be able to take those millions with you. Right? Power. How many men have statues built of them and great coliseums and all these monuments? And down through the ages, people forget who they are. I doubt many Gen Z people know even who Caesar is. I'm going to be real. This guy who conquered most of the known world, even Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great basically conquered the entire world at that time, the entire civilized world. I doubt there's any like Gen Alpha, Gen Z kid who can really name who he is. This great conqueror. Do you want to be a memory in the mind of man? Or do you want to be in eternity with God? That's the question all of us have to ask ourselves. That's the real yearning of our heart. Having a good job and having a good relationship and all that stuff and working out and making decent amount of money, those are all very important. Right? But if you remember a chart like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those are the top needs, right? Okay, I need a warm, comfortable house to live in, need plenty of good food in the fridge, need a, beautiful wife who loves me, great children, all that stuff. That's great. But your root need, what you need the most is God. When you have God, like you might not have those other things. Saint Polycarp, if I remember correctly, I believe he died by being burned alive. Saint Ignatius was torn apart by lions, right? Life is very hard for the saint. It's not easy. We talked earlier. I'm not saying it's easy at all. It's not. If any of these people, these archetypes we spoke of, want what is easy, Catholicism isn't for you, man. And I don't say that with any nastiness. I say that with, that isn't what you're going to find in God. But what you will find in God is truth. And that is the only thing that will answer the yearning of your heart. I want our Chad to find God. And I don't say I want him to find God like the insult, like find God, right? But I want him to know and love God because God knows and loves him. He may very well identify and diagnose like these problems with Gen Z and stuff like that. I think he's very good at that. But as long as he doesn't reach the natural conclusion, as long as he doesn't reach what we were all made for, it's just going to be Sisyphus rolling the boulder up. And so I hope and I pray with all my heart that our Chad comes to know and love God, because that's what he was made for, and that's what all of us were made for. But needless to say, my friends, it has been a good stream. It is 10 here, so I gotta log off. Gotta get on with dinner and stuff like that. But as usual, it's been great talking to all of you. I love you guys very much. God bless every single one of you. Thank you for spending this time with me, and be expecting more content, man. We're getting at it.